Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Life Discussions with Dr. Jefferson. I'm your host, Dr. Jefferson, and today we're going to have a comprehensive conversation about the way social media has contributed to the perpetuation of isolation. And for some people, introduce an option to isolate and divest from communicating with other people when you find yourself in a very difficult situation or very distressful situation where you otherwise definitely want to convey your feelings, your thoughts, emotions, and reflections. But you know what? There is this overarching expectation from everybody around you, especially the people that are connected to you on social media, for you to show up and be pleasant, be without distress, look like you got it together. So we're going to discuss that today. We're going to talk about some tips and tricks for you to overcome overwhelming emotions that lead to you isolating and portraying yourself on social media in a different way than you actually are, congruently. We're going to talk about a very interesting relationship topic today. Our Monday night show will feature getting you together so that you can be the best version of yourself that you can be moving forward in the various capacities in which you're responsible for being in relationships with people that are connected to you. So, without further ado, we're going to jump in and we're going to go ahead and do our pre show. And I'll see you guys back in about 3 minutes. So, hey, you guys, welcome back. And we're going to have a conversation today about the way that social media has forced people, provided an out for people who are having a really difficult time conveying their true emotions to the people that are supposed to be supportive of them. Even some people who really think that they are sources of support for these folks, but providing an out so that these feelings don't get conveyed. And instead, these people show up on social media. Their presence on social media is very much vibrant. And you never see the dark days, right? So, suffering in silence, if you will. If we are to claim anything to be true, it's the fact that now we live in a society where people's emotional stability or their emotional congruence or their emotional states are typically conveyed on social media. We don't have to pick up the phone and call anybody. We can just check into their social media account and we can say, oh, well, they're posting. They put out a positive quote. Some people are just doing the minimum just so they can get by and they can pass for together. This is one of the most emotionally impactful moments in our lives. We have lived the last 3 years in pure turmoil, abrupt adjustments, forced into situations where we really had no choice but to be in those situations because of a global pandemic, forced inside of our homes, locked inside of our homes, and our homes almost used as prisons. So, unless you're a robot, it has to have had some level of an impact on you. You have some people who have used the internet as an outlet, and they're very therapeutic in using it as an outlet, right? And they have gone on their rants. They have talked about the things that they don't like about this world we live in. They've talked about the things, the behaviors and people that they don't like. They've completely divested in some sort of a way, at least on social media, from people or ideals. Some people have become an entire personality as a result of the internet. Look at Kwame Brown, Kevin Samuels, Cynthia G. Nyla Speaks, Tanya TKO definitely took off. It's a lot of people who have built their masks here on social media in these last couple of years. And they have done so in a very constructive way for them, destructive way for society. Other people, however, have been forced to suffer in silence and then only post on social media when they're having good days. So I want to talk to those people. I want to talk about those people. I'm going to give you guys ways that you can identify those people. So we have a tendency to go and hide in shells. Oftentimes people think the only people that do that is introverts. But with the presence of and prevalence of the use of the internet and social media, pretty much everybody has a tendency to do that because you can still be very much connected on social media, on your phone. You can pick up and type and text whatever you want. You can repost whatever you want. And then you can literally be in a fit of depression. Everything around you looks like it's unkept. You look like you're unkept. You look like you're no longer together because you're not. Your life is in shambles. But on social media, you appear to be very much together. You find small things to engage in just so it looks like you're doing enough to avoid detection of your true heart, your true feelings, your true emotions, right? I've heard so many people say, oh, well, this is COVID, right? Everybody's losing somebody. These people have suffered various losses. All of their very close and intimate family members have died over the course of the beginning of the pandemic up to now. And they're pretty much down to just some distant friends. Those people are still out here on social media. Seemingly, they look fine. But behind the scenes, they're basking in substances, alcohol, drugs, you name it, just as a mean to stay in a zone to where they don't have to feel. These people are suffering from what we would consider to be clinical depression, but nobody would ever know it because nobody's taken a moment to sit down and really watch what it is they're posting, how often they're posting, whether or not you're seeing them, whether or not you're seeing all the different parts of them, right? Nobody is actually visiting with anyone, so we can't see that their house is a mess. We can't see that their room is a mess. We can't see that they're living in filth. We can't see that they haven't taken a shower in 16 weeks. I want you guys to understand that it's important that we address this because the realities are so many people are using Instagram and Facebook and TikTok as a means to just stay alive by reposting what they see that's funny, send a couple of tweets or TikToks out or Facebook posts out or Instagram post and screenshot and repost and things like that as a means to make people on the outside think that they are very much together, but they really are not. These people are not choosing to suffer in silence, but society's take, society's engagement, society's seek to normalizing, their intent to normalize social media usage and things like that. That is forcing them to suffer in silence because while we would love to be there for them, it makes more sense for us to be on social media and post hearts, I care responses if you're on Facebook, and words of endearment because they make us look okay when we are not even okay. So let's talk about this. Let's unpack this. Let's unveil the layers of the mask. Today, for this show, I want you guys to feel like it's okay to take off the mask because it is. I want you guys to be as transparent with yourself, if no one else, about what your process really looks like when you turn the cameras off, when you turn off the social media connections, when you turn off your internet, when you turn off your phone, whether it's day or night, whether you are completely engaged or partially engaged. I want you to be honest today. So Lone Wolf says, I actually completed a certificate for suicide prevention training, hoping to work in the spring for psychology department. I think that that's definitely a point of contention. That's something that you should probably be interested in, especially with you being in med school soon and engaged in that. Some of the kids that are, or should I say, younger adults, the most vulnerable population of people are people that are working in healthcare fields because these people are responsible for putting on a hat every day, several layers of armor every day that doesn't display their true feelings so that they can be present and emotionally available or seem that way for the people that they're responsible for providing care for. And that's one of the things that actually plays to more so to our detriment than to our gain. So you said COVID was messing me up, but going to the gym every morning helps me out. 4 a.m. workouts, 5 to 6 days a week. Great. That means you realize that there is something going on, right? And once you realize that there is something going on, it definitely helps you to kind of get in the dance of doing something so that you can reverse the damage. Um, the physical exercise definitely helps to increase your norepinephrine, your dopamine levels in your body, serotonin levels, so that you can function at full capacity and you can start feeling more like yourself. Revealing the Narcissist of Black YouTube says people are struggling for sure. I got to get back to the gym. The gym is a great way, right, to experience a cathartic release of emotions. And that's just us unveiling or opening up the layers of us so that the stress can flow out and positive energy can flow in, people. The gym is a great way to do that, but you can also do that at home. What I typically recommend is that people, emulate the process of jogging. If you're not really ready to re-enter society and be around all these people and go running and jogging like you typically would, you can always do like the 30-second countdown. And what that is you're jogging in place, you're counting up to 30, and then you're counting up to 29. Then you're counting up to 20, 28. So you're continuing to count up until you get to 1 and you're done. Believe it or not, during the course of that particular exercise, you will have the outcome of the equivalent of 30 minutes of continuous jogging. So for most of us, that's about 4 miles. Easy. So to get that equivalent in that small amount of time is everything. Also, and that's just kind of like a cost efficient way. If you're a person who has the funds to invest, and I know that some of this exercise equipment is fairly cheap now, to invest in one of the elliptical machines. Elliptical machines are a great way to kind of get your body moving and do a full body exercise all at once and get what you need in 15 to 30 minutes. Let's go to your next comment. Social media is overrated. Glad I deleted it after high school. Do you have Instagram, IG? You know what, Lone Wolf? I often say we need more helping professionals in the field, but I have moved away from saying that because I feel like we have an abundance of helping professionals in the field. I feel like what we don't have is enough qualified helping professionals in the field. And also, we don't have enough people who are going to acknowledge their pain and attend to the process necessary for them to start healing. Right. So I feel like those are more so of the issues now than a lack of resources. The resources are definitely there. We've just got to get to the point where we're okay with being vulnerable, that we're okay with taking the masks off and just being. We have to be okay with saying, you know what, I'm having a really bad day, looking to those people that are supports for you and being truly a support for someone else is a really great way for you to remain congruent emotionally. And what that looks like is when you're going through these very painful emotions, these very vulnerable times in your life, you're processing with someone and you're saying, I'm hurt because XYZ. Or, you know what, I'm hurting and I can't figure out why. Or, this impacted me in this way. We have to be people that do that instead of picking up that phone and sending out screenshots, reposts, commenting, and things like that because we think that's just enough to keep the charade going, right? No Instagram, not a fan of it. Great, because the pressures of Instagram can sometimes be overwhelming for a lot of folks, and it can be deconstructive, right? It can take us apart and have us feeling like we need to become this person, right? We need to look a certain way. We need to be a certain way. We need to present a certain way. So every once in a while, I know that a lot of people have kind of gotten into the mode of contacting people via social media, right? DMs. But every once in a while, I want you guys to start picking up your phone. And I know that in these DMs, they do offer video messaging and things like that. But maybe pick up your phone and FaceTime with a person. Call them. Get in your car and go and stop by. Peek in just to make sure they're okay. I'm not saying stalk them. You know. Tinder for the chocolate. Is Tinder still around? Tinder is it's a sex website. Oh. A sex hookup. Well, got me. No. Revealing the narcissist of Black. YouTube says, I forget all about FaceTime. FaceTime is actually a great way for you to see exactly what's really going on. I mean, for me, I'm a person who really doesn't believe in connecting much, but when I am hurting, the world will know it. Okay? When I'm well, the world will know it, right? So I'm very, very good at expressing my emotions, and FaceTime helps me connect with those people that are not as adequate at expressing their emotions as I am, right? I respect those people who have stepped into and embraced the isolation that social media allows for, right? And my main way of connecting with them is FaceTime. Let me see what's around you. You know, I had one. I think what was that movie where that person was telling them take a picture of what's right in front of you right now. take a picture in front of the clock so I can make sure that the time is right and all of that. So I'm one of those people. I want to, in real time, assess what's really going on with you. If we're connected, if we're close, I want to make sure that you really are okay, because sometimes we can express that we're not okay in very subtle ways. And because it's very subtle ways, it can be missed. So what I'm encouraging you guys to do is every once in a while, maybe once a week or so, really connect with people. We got a 90s mentality. He said, I'm too old school, got the 90s mentality, no social media, just working hard in silence. Yeah, that's not necessarily old. People from the old school believe in picking up the phone, believe it or not. Yeah. Yeah. We're a fan for picking up the phone. And yeah, we had landlines back then. I don't think anybody has landlines now. Mm-hmm. Like stop and pick one, and then you had little black book of numbers and stuff like that. But what I want you guys to do is try and find yourselves reconnecting authentically to not only other people, but to the different parts of yourself. Really get to know what's going on with you. Be curious in your dance. So start asking yourself some questions that align you with who you are and your becoming. And what that looks like is just being curious and saying, hey, what am I noticing about me today that's different today versus yesterday? What am I noticing about me today that's different today than the themes of my last month, right? And track your growth longitudinally, right? Start keeping a journal and kind of writing these things down, mapping out the best practices for you that you've identified through your discovery of who you are and your becoming. So sometimes that looks like just making a side note, hey, Rush, what's going on? How are you? And your side note might be, today I find I'm very into football, or today I found I'm very into soccer, or today I found I'm very much into rugby, whatever it is you're into. You said my parents have a landline phone. Good God. That made me give up mine. I hate it. It's a great thing. You need a landline. Trust me. What happens when these cell phone towers just fail? Landlines are connected under the ground. So there's that. It's reliable. But start asking yourself questions about you and your becoming. Start redefining who you are as a result of the impact of the pandemic, as a result of the impact of your losses that have happened since the pandemic started, as a result of what you're observing in the world around you, close proximity and distant proximity, right? Start analyzing some of the stuff that's going around in the news, even how you can advocate for your physical safety, things that you can do to keep other people safe around you. Start analyzing some of the things that are making you more anxious today than you were yesterday. I know for me, we went out to eat to dinner. I had kind of like a craving for a Longhorn steak. Anybody that's been to Longhorn, you guys know it's just a different experience. You know what I mean? It's not like an Arizona steak, doesn't taste the same. It's not like Ruth Chris, you know what I mean? It's going to give you a different feel, you know, and the steak is going to be thinner too than going to like Cuts, right? So that was my craving. I kind of had a craving for some steak and broccoli. I love the sweet potatoes from Longhorn too. I'm not gonna lie, they got the best sweet potatoes. I'm just gonna tell you guys that. Absolute best. But so I noticed when we went there, what was that? Yesterday? The idea that everybody, and you know, like I'm a natural germaphobe because originally as a medical doctor, I was an infectious disease doctor. I've always been kind of clammy around a bunch of people, but there were so many people. And then this was the first time that I was seated at a table instead of a booth. I prefer a booth because that gives me some level of protection. I could scoot all the way against the wall, right? So in that moment, it was interesting for me because I finally got a moment to notice, like, oh my God, like I feel something going on here, right? Pay attention to your body. Like my heart started to race a little faster. I'm like, shit, it's people walking on both sides of me. I'm not cool with this. not really good with this right now, right? So you have to recognize when you're not okay. That's what I'm trying to convey to you guys. Recognize when you're not okay. And when you see that you're not okay, move yourself into a space to where now you can advocate for your emotional congruence, your emotional safety, your physical safety, even, right? Notice what's different for you. Notice what's coming up for you. Acknowledge the distress that you're currently in. So this way you can better manage it, right? And then moving forward, if you acknowledge where you are when you are where you are, now you're in a position to prevent it. So distress acknowledgement means that we notice that a thing is happening and we call a thing a thing. We're able to do that. When I talk about distress management, that's noticing that this is a thing, especially when we talk about anxiousness or depression or isolation, right? We can manage it so it doesn't perpetuate a cycle that takes us into a black hole, right? Depressive moods are very different than clinical depression as a disorder. So if we find ourselves low in our mood right now to where we're unmotivated or we feel overwhelmed and we want to isolate and we just really are pulling back versus that being a whole way of life for a couple of months, what we can do is acknowledge that there is something, whatever that thing happened before was, we can acknowledge that we're here now. And then we can move into managing it because we can identify what things happened before we got here. And then in the future, we can prevent it because we can prevent ourselves from being in situations where that same stressor or trigger is prevalent or a centralized theme in our life. So you can remove yourself from places only after you've allowed yourself to acknowledge what you're currently going through, if that makes sense. Just as epidemiologist, I did work on a team developing immunizations for quite some time. My team was responsible for developing the HPV vaccination shortly before I retired. We actually got approval for that here in like 2004, I think. Yeah. But I want to talk about what you recognize when you are doing that self reflection that I talked about. The things that we are able to identify embarrass us the most about us. When we recognize what those things are and we step into a place where we can now embrace those things, it prevents us from moving in silence and suffering on social media in the way that people are right now, right? That normalized sufferance says that it's not okay to share those vulnerable parts of us. And so if it's not okay for us to share those vulnerable parts because we're embarrassed about those parts of us, we have to recognize and call that thing a thing. I'm embarrassed because XYZ, I'm embarrassed because I feel this way. I'm embarrassed because I look this way. I'm embarrassed because I don't have the girth or the strength to do this thing. That thing may be just getting out of bed. Embracing that sometimes it doesn't keep us or perpetuates the cycle of discord or isolation. It actually helps us because now we know that we are disabled. We know that physically we've been disabled. We've been put in a place to where even if we're trying to motivate ourselves in every way that we typically are motivated, we still can't engage in these things. So we know now that it's time for us to get help. Right? So notice the things that are happening within yourself. Notice the things that inside of you make you feel less than accepted or embarrassed. And as a result, attend to your emotional health by embracing that embarrassment and allowing it to have a seat at the table like every other piece of you.
Could it be hearing a speech? Should I be mine?
Yeah, yeah, it could definitely be
Could you help me with that?
the things that we can't do. Like if we have a difficult time hearing or speech congruence, like people that struggle with
Speech impediment,
yeah, different types of speech impediments.
stuttering, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Those people, because they're so uncertain about themselves, sometimes they don't want to speak out in public. They don't want to
That's
be
why
in
I'm
public
quiet.
spaces.
That's why I'm quiet for the first conversation. I got to
Get to know them.
gauge it, the volume and how things are set up.
Mm-hmm.
All that. That way I can know what I'm hearing. I'm talking to.
Right. And then it makes you more comfortable.
Exactly.
And then also it makes other people come more comfortable too.
It makes me uncomfortable. I keep hearing what you say. That's the biggest thing about mine. I don't like to keep asking people they say it because I didn't really hear what you say. What you say. I get tired of doing that.
But I think that's a good conversation to have. So think about it. When you're immersed, when you're around other people, right? And they're conversing with you or attempting to, and you can't hear them.
Mm-hmm.
How often do you think? Because I know because you can't hear them, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're not bothered by the fact that they may walk off from the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But so the producer and I we're having a conversation about hearing impediments. So if you can't hear hearing difficulties, if you cannot hear well out of one ear or both ears, do you think, I want you guys to think about it, do you think that the people around you are more agitated by the fact that you're not responding to their attempts to communicate with you, but you're not bothered because you can't hear them anyway? Or
I think it's both.
do you think they'll be more agitated if you started asking them, hey, were you talking to me or what did you say? Because then at least you're acknowledging that you may have heard something, but you're not sure what it is. And you brought yourself in so that you can now be able to focus on what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
And if they are talking to you, you're giving them acknowledgement that, hey, I'm
I'm
trying to
just
hear
doing the
you.
opposite. I stay out of it until I can see myself getting into it. I don't
Mm,
just dive in. I'm gonna start off with it. Everybody talking. I can't make out nothing. Just looking stupid. I can't do that.
So what is that? What is that like for you, being in that space?
It's isolation. Like you said, it makes you just
Isolate.
yeah, naturally. Because you don't feel comfortable going into that type of area. That's that's not your wrong suit. So, until you gauge the conversation, who comfortable into the conversation about it, you kind of ease into it, you kind of play with it a little bit till you get better at it.
Okay, so I'm gonna grab that piece that you said because you know it's not your strong suit. Embracing the parts of us that we consider to be damaged, flawed, inadequate, embarrassing, embracing those parts of ourselves and allowing those parts of ourselves to have a congruent seat, consistent seat at the table actually removes the shame and embarrassment so that way when we're having those difficulties we can convey that. We can say, you know what? I really don't. I don't hear well out of this ear.
I didn't feel that until you kind of make me notice that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he can't hear. He can make me move.
Because I'll call a thing a thing. Okay, self-disclosure. Because for me, right, I've had so many RPGs and things, blow up like in close proximity and like very close, bullets flying past my head. For me, there is a ringing, right? And so sometimes I can't hear it all out of one ear. Yeah, almost like tinnitus. So the thing is, like sometimes it'll be in this ear, sometimes it alternates though, right? So for me, I will let a person know, I'm like, what happened? in a minute. I see your mouth moving. So I know you're trying to say something to me. You're looking at me, but I can't hear you. And what'll happen is it'll just go out and it'll just become like a ringing. And the room will get really quiet for me. So for me, I know when it's happening, and that's okay. I'm okay with it because I've embraced that part. It's been so many years now at this point. I have embraced that part. So if you embrace that part of you and you say, okay, well, this is just, I have a problem with hearing, and it's only up close, because what happens for me is when it's getting silent in the room around me, I can hear everything in the distance at an elevated rate. It's crazy. Can hear people down the street tell you what kind of car is coming, what the speed is, all that. Really interesting. So what I tell people is, even though you may think that, and it may be something that is typically embarrassing for the average person, for me, it's more important for me to embrace those parts of me because I cannot change those parts. You have to accept the fact that you cannot change those parts, and those are parts of you like every other part of you. Right. Well, I'm glad I could help, but you have to understand, you have to love every part of you for what it is authentically, which is why people, I think, struggle with their conveying their sufferance, because I think that when they're suffering,
it's more people don't want to look at their own disability and call them bigger things.
Yeah.
You know you got to be one of the word know it. But they don't know if they talk to you.
They'll know it eventually.
Yeah.
Or they'll say, damn, she's rude. Because they'll be talking at me and I'll just be looking there like sitting there looking at them like, whatever. I guess I'll hear whenever it comes back in. We're going to sit here and wait for a while. But I mean, you have to play to your strengths, and you have to make your strength acceptance. That's what I'm trying to convey to you guys. It's very important that we make the number one strength, if we have no other strengths, acceptance. We have to learn how to accept and embrace every part of us authentically so that we can be the best versions of ourselves that we can be. Because the more things that we accept about ourselves, right, the more seats we provide at the table for those parts of ourselves that we deem to be inadequate, the more we can start working on them and improving their presentation so that they're now pleasing for us. When they become pleasing for us, by default, they become pleasing to everybody else, because your first point of reference is always yourself. So hopefully you guys really kind of dig into that and you really get it. what we're going to do is I have two separate relational topics that I'm going to discuss tonight because I really just couldn't make my mind up. And we're just going to do it. Okay. So I'm going to get in the first one after we take a quick break here for a couple of seconds while I get it pulled up. And I'm going to pose a question to you guys. And if you guys know people who are religious, deeply religious in the church regularly on their Sundays, if you know people who have a history of being in the church and for whatever reason they divested from the church, bring those people in. Let's have this conversation. But we're going to talk about scandal in the church. Okay? Good God. So I'll see you guys back in just a moment. Okay. So it's a lot. Oh, that's my official topic. Okay, so listen up. Let's talk about this church scandal. Apparently, there's a young lady, and I know a lot of you are like huge followers of Kevin Samuels, and on his show, he has historically talked about a woman's sexual marketplace value. So this young lady was a hairdresser, mobile hairstylist to some extent. She was a member of this church family. And this particular pastor, and I will not I won't name the church. It is a huge church here in Atlanta, East Atlanta area, but I'm not going to name it. And it is a bit of a mega church. Okay. This pastor's wife fell ill at some point, and as she was dealing with her battle with her illness, this pastor contacted this young lady and asked this young lady to do his wife's hair. Okay. She was bedridden with her illness, and the young lady agreed. She came by her house, his house, their house together, and she proceeded to style the woman's hair. During the course of her styling the woman's hair, this pastor came up behind her and initiated the act of sex with this young lady who's in her 20s. And she continued to do the wife's hair while they were engaged in the physical act of sex. As a result of that one sexual experience, this young lady became pregnant and has since had a child. The pastor has made it very clear that he does not want anything to do with said child. Yes, way. And this young lady is still an active member of the church. And of course, We know that you could be sick and on your dying bed, but we get better. And his wife apparently has gotten better. And she definitely remembers the act. This young lady is still a member of the church. He is still married to his wife. And she now feels compelled to hide the existence of this particular child, not the rest of her kids. The young lady has, I think, 6 kids. And she hid the existence of this kid from the person that she was in a relationship with. And this particular person just so happened to notice, that the baby was, crying a couple of times in the background. And the young woman was forced to reveal, yes, I do have a baby as well. And the backstory behind it all. At this point, this male decided to divest and leave her because of the church sex scandal. I want to know from you guys, what are your thoughts? Do you feel like he was wrong in making a decision to leave her based off of the fact that she had sex with the pastor? Because these are his words. He left her because he didn't want to be with somebody that would have sex with the pastor while his wife was present and she was responsible for doing the pastor's wife's hair. But if he came behind her and inserted his male parts into her, and you guys, you just can't make this stuff up. Sick is, I don't think sick begins to describe the what I'm thinking. I'm trying really hard to not be judgmental. The church says, come as you are.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think?
Oh.
And say, come as you are. Just, you got to accept them for who they are. So that means the pastor too. So if the pastor is a ho out here in these streets, the doors of the church are open.
Oh, there you go.
Oh. Whose job is it to make the doors open? It's the pastor's, right? Yeah. So he made her doors open. The doors of her legs. Yeah. Windows to her soul. I don't. I kind of feel bad for the young lady in the situation, but I'm curious, how you guys feel. I don't know. Rush, if Rush is still watching, Rush, if you're still on here, Rush is the king of sucker free. You know what I mean? So I know he probably doesn't think that the guy on the outside that was making the decision to leave the woman was wrong, but I simply have no words, okay? That's where I am on it, all right? And that's our first relationship topic. Number 1, I kind of really want to know from you guys what it is that you're thinking. If you think that he was wrong, please put that there. I'm going to definitely send this over to him. But put that in the chat, type 1 if you think that young man was wrong for leaving her. Type 2 in the chat if you think that he was right, spot on, and he dodged the bullet. Let's talk about accountability. I personally feel like the accountability is on the pastor in this particular scenario, because I feel like the pastor has to be the person to carry the flock along the way and lead the flock without doing what the flock would do if they were not holy. I don't know. Rush, what's not true? That you remaining sucker free, like that you don't think the guy wrong for leaving the woman considering her trauma? Do you think that he was wrong? Go ahead, entertain me, Rush.
You think he was right?
He said he was right.
I mean, his own opinion, he felt that way.
I think Rush would agree that he was right for leaving, because I think Rush is the kind of guy who think that he dodged the bullet.
He didn't want no baby, so
he didn't want no baby. He didn't want no baby.
He didn't want no children. I mean, you know.
He didn't want no baby. I'm gonna do Tamika Mallory. A conversation. No.
He said you're right.
See, I told you, Rush. I see what you think. Exactly. So finally, revealing the narcissist of Black YouTube, you get it. It was definitely rape, but the young lady felt compelled to stay in the moment. Yeah, you come behind me, sir. You a whole married preacher, not a whole married man. Okay.
Okay.
You're not just a married man. You're a married pastor of a mega church in Atlanta where the population is ridiculous and your church population is ridiculous, sir. Sir, you and your wife, you hired me to come and do her hair. And you come and slide your penis on in.
I heard your point, but you said us there, yes or no. So
what's she gonna say while your wife is right here, barely in and out of consciousness, going through her battle with a terminal illness diagnosis? I'm just trying to figure out what you want this girl to do. Scream for help?
Yeah. If you have violence, you're gonna react, not give in to consensual. You know, something ain't right. I don't really have prior conversations. You kind of like that person. I don't know both sides of the situation. If they actual relationship before that transpired. You don't just come behind somebody. You had to have something going on before that. I mean, some kind of. Even a rapist gonna do something like that. He have a thought frame or something.
Let me tell you something. I wouldn't care how many conversations, even if let's play to this. Let's play through the possibility that there were conversations had. Okay, even if there were conversations had, and even if I were a consenting woman, I'm responsible for doing your wife, your sick wives, your dying wives' hair. So you want me to draw attention to your sick and dying wife that you're behind me with your penis inside of me, raping me while I'm doing her hair, so she can go ahead and kick the bucket and I can be the reason and God can send me directly there with gasoline draws on? No. Hey, urban therapist, how are you? Listen. I am not... Says, I'm going to look at William McRae blog to see if he's on top of this story. If he's not, he should be. Okay? He should be. But when I tell you, I am... When I was listening to it, like, it with me, okay... I would try to make light of the situation. I'm like, well, at least she was killing two birds in one stone. She was making sure the husband was satisfied and the wife. No, seriously speaking.
That was too much of a violation not to act out.
I've seen worse.
I mean, but that was a compromised situation.
I've seen so much worse from clients that I've had in therapy, from church scenarios. Nah, she need to take him somewhere. I think that she definitely is. What I think is the young lady needs to get help, and hopefully in getting that help, somebody advocates to prosecute. gives her the resources she needs to prosecution, file charges, official charges against him, and let the law figure it out.
She ain't like she hard to get with, so you know how that goes.
I said, what? Oh my God! Why I never the producer? Did you not see that? Oh my God! Well, that's the most toxic masculine thing I have ever heard.
He figured she was hard to get with.
He said because she had 5 kids at the time. Well, no, she had 5 kids at the time. The 6th is his. No. I'm not using a new camera. Why you say that?
You look vital.
I do.
Oh, you got a light probably turned up or not or whatever.
The light is turned all the way down.
Oh no. You look white or whatever for some reason.
I don't know.
No, I'm just saying.
Same camera though.
I've been trying to look inside his mind, see what he was thinking and what made him want to do the extra like that. And then on top of that, you can take the pastor out of the whole-ish activity, but you can't take the whole out of the pastor. That's why. I'm still saying besides that way, you know, if you got that many kids, you're gonna think you're gonna get a place. Why you protect yourself? Why you
Rush said she's a jump off. She is not. The girl was a mobile hairdresser.
See, that's what I'm saying.
What's going on with this toxic masculinity, sirs? Okay. So you think it's okay that when a woman is, first of all, he's a pastor and your wife is dying, you perv. So like, even if you thought that she was an easy hookup, right? Because she has 5 kids at this point, you don't just decide to go and put your little penis man inside of this woman.
It worked for him because he succeeded in his goals. I mean, he didn't have no backlash from besides this. I mean, you know, I don't. She's
still trying to hide the baby from the rest of the world for him.
Y'all make me think something else going on with it. Why you trying to hide a baby you should have had or should have wanted? Didn't want to actually encounter anyway. So it should be something else going on with that.
You think?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. Too much. I don't know if you got her hiding the baby or what. Why would you do all the extras? I mean, you know, that's a lot going on.
You think so?
Yeah.
So the producer says there's a lot going on, you guys. He don't know. He said it's got to be more. Said she ain't being 100% authentic with us.
She ain't being 100% authentic. I'm not using the kid as a scapegoat, but she's making her situation with the kid as a scapegoat. She's making it feel that way about what she's doing behind the scenes. You gonna have 5 and hide 1. Why you gonna?
Because the baby looked just like the pastor. That's what, literally, I mean, just like it. Ain't no avoiding that.
I put my daughters on my little one that space. I would want them to fly help at that moment. Well, you need that. You felt body.
Well, it depends on how your daughter is raised too. Many people that are raised inside of the church, which is why the sexual abuse of young boys go unnoticed, altar boys, because they feel the need to protect the pastor, the priest, the monsignor, the father.
A body trust have been broken. Still, the person have been broken as well. So
he said the person been broken as well. You're right.
So that's what I'm saying. You can't traumatize somebody like that. If you don't have some part of it, but you got to have something. A lot of part of that puzzle ain't missing because that won't happen.
He said that was a short break. Yeah, I only needed a quick break to pull up the emails.
I'm just saying, people don't. That's a dangerous situation to be in anyway. Even not being in the presence of somebody, your wife, just in a hotel room is just dangerous. You're gonna do that in front of her. Something else going on. I don't care if you half bed or half awake or whatever. It's a lot to do that. To the person you don't even know going to accept it or not. It's a big argument in too.
So let's welcome Rush's toxic masculinity to the show.
Yo, salute to you, Doc. Salute to the producer.
He said, "Hey."
Hey, what, Roy?
Both of y'all toxic over here.
Well, I'm not toxic, Doc.
Okay, real.
Unbelievable.
First of all, the guy, I'm not, okay, if this accusation is true, I'm not,
they look like 100%.
You know what I mean? because of the what's the word I'm looking for? The mantle that he's taking up is a serious mantle, and I as a believer of, you know what I mean, of the Most High, you
Bishop
should,
Darko, Bishop Howard.
if you're a leader of a congregation and you know you're a teacher of for the great book, then you should act accordingly. You know what I mean? I'm not condoning this act, but let's be realistic. The guys that the pastors that use their gifted gab to have control of the congregation, you know, they're considered the hierarchy. They're considered that the alpha male. So there is a lot of females that's willing to sleep with a pastor in that kind of setting. You know what I mean? So, you know,
Wait, when you say that kind of setting, even if she is actively doing his dying wives, at that point they thought his wife was going to die. So even while she is braiding your dying wife's hair,
You know, how she
Dot,
get
Dot.
one.
First of
he
all,
wasn't naked.
let me say this.
He went under her dress and slid her drawers to the side and slid his little wiener man up in there.
Let me
I
say
mean, we
this.
didn't need to be that graphic.
Dot. Don't make excuse for the jump off. We all know women are very socially calibrated. You know what I'm saying? Women are very socially calibrated. They're not going to put themselves in a situation that they don't want to be in. You know what I mean? So I'm quite sure if you was conversing with a gentleman and he asked you to come up to his hotel room, you're not going to go up to his hotel room because 9 times out of 10, he want them drawers down and he want to smash, and you know this. So you're not going to put yourself in a position like that. It's the same thing with Shorty. She knew she's going to be in a closed environment with a half-dead individual. She knew what time it was. You know what I mean? That's why I say it was consensual. And the top of that, 5 kids? The 5 kids is probably not even related to the guy she was dating.
Well, I don't know, but I don't think it's fair to judge the young lady because she had 5 kids.
No, I'm saying she made it.
Come on, man. Come on.
Behind it, you do a lot of stuff that don't add up.
I don't know. She was in the church, so that if she's going to church,
I thought she was a realist.
I am being real, but I think if she was
you being biased right now.
She was going to church, right? So if she's going to church, that says that she's trying to better her thought ways. No?
She missed the mark on that one.
He missed the mark.
She could have topped that account.
She could have probably gotten an abortion, but what is getting an abortion going to do?
Take that kind of risk to ruin his life, publicly, and his marriage, or somebody he think he might be.
I'm pretty sure that he really thought his wife was going to die. When I say she was dying, it was public information that she was dying.
In her presence, you gonna do that? You don't know nothing about that. That's a lot to take.
She wasn't there. She had enough meds in her system. I don't think he was banking on his wife remembering, if anything. I don't think he was banking on her living. I'm just gonna be honest.
It takes a lot for a person to perform that type of act in front of somebody they trained in good health, let alone.
We're talking about men. We're talking about men. It don't take a lot for men to do what they do to women, and they have been doing to women historically.
I mean, I don't think it takes a lot to do that. I mean, you know.
Doc, you can't believe that it was rape. There's no way. It was definitely consensual.
There was something going on.
So even if let me entertain you guys, and let's say it is consensual. What kind of man would have a woman doing his wife's hair while he's smashing?
I think
and he's supposed to be a pastor.
Both of them, they were doing. Both of them were wrong.
I don't care.
Both of them were wrong. She was wrong for not stopping.
Official urban therapist, my lips are sealed. Because this is
she's
not
trying to lose her channel.
this is not my this one right here. You know, I like to give people a chance to defend themselves.
You want to hide it, baby, from the world pretty much. I mean, you just who take care of the child? He got to take care of the child.
Just know I've reached out to give him an opportunity, but baby, believe me, it's coming. My thing is this: if it's not, trust me, it's his baby.
I mean, he probably know him. He's taking care of it. Why you keep me on?
It's his baby. He don't have a choice but to take care of the baby. So here's the thing: this is America. You ever heard of child support?
Mm-hmm.
He's going to take care of the baby regardless.
Right.
Now, whether or not he's not having any. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. First of all, this pastor you're talking about, right? Is he one of those mega churches type pastors?
Yes.
Okay, so it's definitely consensual. Why? Let me tell you why I know it's consensual. Because one, if he's like one of those big mega church pastors, right? Therefore, he has bread. Therefore, it could have been a setup for her to get to the bag. You know what I mean?
I've considered that. I've considered that
too. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a winning situation for her.
So I've considered that. However, he has to say that from his own mouth to me. So if he can tell his show and
he's a pastor, he ain't gonna do that.
If he doesn't, then his name and all his information will be released along with the photos of the baby.
He has to sell this perfect image to the congregation. So he ain't gonna do that.
I don't know if it's an affair gone wrong. I think that men have to acknowledge the fact that when you are in a position of influence and power, you have a higher charge. And I think that he's failed to meet his higher charge.
I agree with that. I'm still saying though, he picked a young vulnerable type person. He knew from her being in the church. He knew her personality.
Yeah, especially because she was in the church. So for me, that's why I say accountability falls on him, simply because you know this woman's inadequacies. Yeah. You know her deepest, darkest pains, secrets, triggers.
Before he done that, she could say yes or no, but they haven't so fast, so she got caught that moment more likely. But
I just feel sorry for her.
I do. I think
why do you feel sorry for?
Because it's a difficult position to be in. It's a difficult position. So here are the couple of things. Okay,
she is wrong too, Doc.
No, I'm not saying that she's not wrong, but and I'm not even saying that she's right. I'm not saying either. What I'm saying is, there's no way I would have been. Look, I tried to say if I were in that situation, but the reality is,
you want to know why you say that?
He would have been
you know it was a consensual act. That's why you're saying that.
No, I'm just saying I know that I'm a different breed of person. I would have snatched his testicles off and fed them to him. But the point of the matter is, wife would have definitely known.
No, I'm saying.
So I feel sorry for the wife. Right.
That makes more sense that you feel bad for the wife.
It's not nothing casual didn't take lightly. We want to fight one.
Yeah, but I feel bad for the wife because, like, I've literally been in that position, like with dying with stage 4 cancer, and I wish my husband would. Oh my God, if that would have been the last thing that I did. I just to take advantage of her though, being on all those meds and things. I think that is inhumane, especially of a pastor. I hold pastors to a whole different. Once you get that whole bishop this and bishop that, no. No. Yeah. No.
That means you put yourself into a moral level.
Exactly.
Of accountability. Yeah,
you're no longer just a regular man of flesh. Right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you're just like in the Catholic Church, a man of the cloth. So the thing is, I personally feel like he
You got a higher standard. You got to stand by.
He more than disavowed his wife. I just feel, and then for his wife to say, I mean, I get it, but I don't.
He do it for him to get the act. That one act could just, get his pillow of failure.
What it tells me is that he has a history of doing this.
Me too. That's why I say he picked a victim.
Right.
So she came down and talking about how he picked her to do his wife's hair. He knew he was doing. He was setting her up for what he was doing with that woman.
Now that makes sense.
That's why I say using 5 kids. It's not she talking. I watched her.
He said using 5. Do you feel the same way? Do you guys in the audience feel the same way? You feel the same way because she had 5 kids? That meant that she was an easy mark?
I mean,
yes, of course. She's a jump off. 5 kids, and we don't even know if those 5 kids are related to the guy she was dating. She could have 5 different baby daddies, but I don't want to engage on that.
Says, what if the wife gave him her blessing due to the situation?
No,
I gave my husband, when I thought that I was dying, when I was diagnosed with terminal cancer, I gave him my blessing. But guess what? What you're not going to do, you're not going to disrespect me. So you're not going to have somebody come in here and be doing my hair and have her hands in my head and your penis in her vagina. You're not doing that. Not doing it.
He victimized that lady.
Better find somewhere else. Like, you know what I mean? I'll come back and haunt you to the end of days. Like you have a heart attack. I don't care. Like, I would carry that over to the grave and beyond. Talking about grudges. I'm a true Cancer.
You're a Cancer?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh man, you guys could hold a grudge.
That's right. You think how I'll be in spirit holding a grudge? You'll be all of a sudden like, dang, I thought you were dead 6 months ago. You're gonna learn today. No, there are certain things that you don't do. There are certain things. Yeah.
That's why I say he groomed her for that particular situation.
I mean, you're a pastor though.
That's sexual predatory stuff, He was not referred to him by somebody that he knew. He knew he picked her person because he knew she was gonna be vulnerable.
Right. She said, I'm sure the wife didn't want to be in the room while they got it in.
She got 5 kids and she's having much sex, so she's gonna be all right with
He said she got 5 kids and she having much sex. So they're gonna be I'm done. I can't. The toxic masculinity coming from the producer makes me want to choke him. Let me move on to this.
No. The producer's just finally keeping it real and not simping for you today, okay?
He not simping for me today. That's what it is. His ass better get back to simping, man. Let's put it like that. You know, for his job security.
Good God.
Oh God.
I'm sucking free over here now.
Oh my God. Let me
salute.
I can't with you. So the relationship topic comes from a young lady who is a part of the alternative lifestyle community. And there is a lot in this. I don't know if I'm going to read it from here, if I'm going to read it from my phone, but we're just going to try and do what I can. Okay. So she says, I've been officially single for about a month and a half now. Ever since my divorce, I haven't been very open to love someone. I still fell in love with a man that claimed to be poly. And we're going to talk about that. I'm going to dissect this because it's a lot here. We had been talking for about 6 months in regards to a BDSM dynamic. My ex knew I was talking to other men at this point, but he didn't care to know any details with us divorcing. I never wanted more and always told this guy that, but he would always talk to me about being his wife. When I told him I needed time to heal, he was understanding, or so I thought. The late night I received a call from his fiance was upsetting, but somehow my spirit knew. I just didn't understand why this man who claimed to love me is now yelling in the background of this phone call telling his fiance that I was just a friend. Says, not I'm just a friend, but you just asked me to be your girl a week prior. And here I am on the phone with this polite woman saying she just wants to know she's not crazy. Of course, I told her the truth because How could I lie for someone who couldn't even tell me the truth? And how could he even be asking me to lie for him, knowing how honest and pure my intentions are? Did he ever know me? Depression and anxiety has been such a part of my daily routine this year. I've learned to function through the tears. He knew how challenging this year was for me, and the stress alone had me only eating once a day. Now, I'm the one that, and she emphasized I'm the one who ruined everything, and he's mad at me. It's because of me that all three of us can't work things out. And I'm the crazy woman that was supposed to be loyal to a man that can't even be honest with me when I was so open and honest. I swear I was taking it slow, but I'll never forget what he said. I'll never judge you. All I want to do is love you. Me, you want to love the housewife turned whore that destroyed your life because she wanted to reclaim her sexual freedom? Fucking, I am so angry. That is said that it was just that simple for me to reveal my deepest desires. Now, where do I go from here? That's a lot.
That's a lot. That's layers on that thing, ain't it?
She can write a book.
Yeah, that is a book.
So, the first thing that I'm going to say, I'm going to bring up the polyamorous aspect of things so that people have a really clear understanding of that. I think lately, more and more people have been seeking polyamorous relationships as a means to heal their non-monogamous conformities, right? So people want to say they're part of monogamous culture, but the truth is, if you're not being with just one person for your entire life, you're not truly monogamous. You're non-monogamous and exclusive potentially, but not monogamous in and of itself. So you're expecting that one person to be your end all be all. However, you can't come over here and hope to be in this lifestyle if this lifestyle over here has failed you, right? Running to one in order to avoid the atrocities and the pain from the other is not a solution. So the first thing that stands out for me in this particular young lady's post is that she's deeply hurt and she knows she's hurt. But here it is, she's trying to seek a relationship with somebody that may give her some notion of healing. Another person cannot provide to you healing. You have to do that for yourself. Being in a polyamorous relationship will not provide you with security, clarity, fidelity, any of that. You have to do that on your own by making sure that you have clearly outlined boundaries and expectations for your relationship and being realistic with yourself about what you absolutely cannot tolerate. That's the simplest way that I can put it. Okay? Now, you men, it's a lot. I feel like men have the opportunity to get whatever it is that they want, and they piss it all away consistently. What's that about? Do American men really not believe in the ideals behind polyamorous relationships, and they only look at polyamory as an idea where they can have sex with multiple people and be okay, all of them be okay with it?
What do you mean by that?
Stands out for that most part.
Like, so behind polyamory, the overarching theme, centralized theme of polyamorous relationships is transparency across lines, honesty across lines. So freedom and wealth, true wealth in relating with other people, right? Other legs. So what's interesting is that, hey, Mr. Brooks, how are you? What's interesting is that people try and move into polyamory because they think that means I'm just gonna have sex with a lot of people, and my issues with being an infidel, my issues with being unfaithful to my monogamous or my non-monogamous exclusive partner, right, are going to be solved because over here I can have sex with multiple people. But polyamory is not about having sex, period. Some of those people that are connected to you in those polyamorous relationships may be a sexual relationship and they may not be. But the centralized theme is transparency, honesty of the purest form. So you can't take the issues that you had in a non-monogamous exclusive relationship and expect to succeed over here because your framework, your belief system is still very dishonest. So I'm starting to believe that American men look at polyamory like that's just an open relationship.
Maybe so. Some that practice poly, they live a cost-efficient lifestyle. You know what I mean? Like it's, you know, they all put their money together to accomplish certain things in life. Yeah, it's a 50-50 thing, you know. Some people got their own agendas with it, and others, you know, the guy that's in that predicament, he's enjoying his options of life. You know what I mean?
So that's not what polyamory is about. So if that's the case, be in a non-monogamous open relationship. What's wrong with doing that instead of coming over here to a woman that's trying to be?
Because they deceive these women, because if they don't tell them what they want to hear, then, you know, 9 times out of 10, they're not going to be able to retract whatever they need to retract from that female. You know what I mean? So they create this illusion of, yeah, this is a poly relationship. I'm only dealing with, you know, you, her, and her, and, you know, he probably got another side chick on the side. You know, he does this because it's he's benefiting through that situation, you know. And plus, the only reason why males in the United States practice this word monogamy is because they don't have a choice, you know.
But they do.
No, because it's to live a poly lifestyle is in America, it's not legal. Like you can't. I can't legally marry 5 women at the same time in the United States.
So just because it's not a culturally accepted practice in your legal clauses doesn't mean that. So marriage essentially is a spiritual element. It's never been one that was created by men.
Oh, so now you want to bring it to that? Well, okay. First of all, yes, marriage is a divine thing. You know, the family, the nuclear family, is a divine thing. You know what I mean? But our social construct perverts that. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? It's not used for that. It's used to the man to, you know, get sex from multiple women, and the woman retract resources from the male that she doesn't even want to marry in the first place. You know what I mean?
So to some extent,
that's what this marriage thing has become now. You know what I mean?
But to some extent, even when we talk about the spiritual congruences of marriage, what happened is in the very beginning of man, before there were laws of the land that dictated and sealed in the legalities of marriage, there were spiritual marriages, and marriages happen on a spiritual level in order for a woman to have a supporter, because then women didn't have rights. You know, they couldn't support
that what you're talking about. People don't even subscribe to that no more. You know what I mean, I wish they did, but it's not like that no more. You know, women, they link up with certain men and have their babies for to get to the bag. Simple as that.
Well, it's always been about a woman being able to be taken care of by a man.
Yes, it's always they seek provision. Yes, that's true.
But the thing is, even in a polyamorous relationship, polyamory does not mean That the man can go and spread himself 3, 4, or 5 ways.
Yeah, I know that, but some guys, they use that to get what they want. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but see, apparently he was outed for not truly being polyamorous, and I guess the first thing for me is.
He was not poly from the beginning.
Yeah, he was never poly from the beginning, but more importantly,
that's the modern way of saying open relationships sound cooler.
Yeah, but open relationships are not the same as poly. So let me make it very clear. There are monogamous relationships, there are non-monogamous relationships. Open relationships are a construct of non-monogamous relationships. So these non-monogamous relationships are in the same subset of culture as monogamy. These are pop culture constructs. When we start talking about polyamorous relationships, those are alternative lifestyle culture relationships. So they could look a lot of different ways, but what they are not is formulated by the same rules in society in which popular culture is. Americans' popular culture, Western culture, is about.
They're using that as a prop to do the same thing they've been doing. That's the prop. The part of the prop.
To okay it.
Yeah.
Well, just say I'm in an open relationship. I don't like monogamy. I want to be in an open relationship. That doesn't mean that you have to be poly.
Oh. You know what I'm saying? It's more hip. It's more, it's more acceptable, you want to say, but that all other, a lot of alternative lifestyle like that. So that kind of sound a little cooler than saying I want to do like that. So I can see men doing that.
Yeah, but it doesn't make sense if you're in a relationship with your wife. Apparently, he was acting like this shit is a whole new thing to him when his wife put that call through. So apparently, he's the guy that feels like, oh, okay, this isn't me, or I'm not the person that believes in this, or that's not. She's just a friend.
Yeah, that same person was the dynamics of poly. He couldn't tell you all of them. He couldn't tell you all that.
He probably most people don't know all of the different polycules, but people do know typically. Yeah. Because typically people only know the one that they finally identify with. Like when they're going through. Right.
They don't identify with that part of it. Mm-hmm. The rest of it, they don't have an idea. So,
let me see. Jenny had me laughing when she said both the wife and the hairdresser got their edges laid. It's going to be a rough one.
That's what I'm saying. They try to update their term.
Say you can keep it real for the rest of the week.
They add new words to vocabulary.
But polyamory has been around for longer than monogamous concepts of relationships.
They making it out of something it's not. They fabricating everything.
Yeah, now I agree with that. But because they're adding whatever they want to make it seem okay and acceptable for them to do what they want to do. So the official urban therapist says, what about when one goes from heterosexual to homosexual relationships? I hear this often. That's also one of the things that they do. But homosexuality is also more of a construct of alternative lifestyle too. But that's what you see when Western culture's popular lifestyle dynamic starts to fail a person. They divest and they move into alternative lifestyle. Now they're full-fledged invested in this. The thing is, if you don't heal from what led you to the idea or the desire to divest, you're not prepared to pursue anything anywhere. And that's my main point for her. You were a target. I'm just curious as to, it was a lot in there. Hey Solomon, how are you? There was a lot in there where, when she started talking about the fact that the ex knew that, she was talking to somebody else. So if you're divorcing your ex for whatever reason, why do you feel like you need to let him know what you're doing on this side, unless you're really trying to work things out with him? Right? So it tells me that you're really not really divested from that relationship. You're still kind of in that and not wanting to let that go. So you can't.
Both playing polyamorous.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
But I think she realized that she was hurt. You know, she was able to identify the fact that she was going through depression. She had anxiety there. I like the fact that she was very much aware, you know, self-aware of what her struggles were. What I don't like is the fact that she didn't realize that she had made herself a target for this person who is obviously a predator. So, but what do you guys think? You know,
She was predatory led into that situation. But he know what you wanted to hear. He told her what you wanted her to get in. She probably sound glamorous in an open relationship.
Really?
Yeah, it could more glam to it.
Sound like more work to me.
I mean, the way you presented it, time more glamorous, the time more stuff was it been more to hip and more today. You know, it make him seem more important. It's not the typical cheating. It's not fooling around. It's some stuff to the level to this shit, you say. You know?
Well, cheating can happen in any type of relationship, including polyamorous relationships. Now, you know, I was raised primarily in a very polyamorous culture where that's kind of what we knew. That was our pop culture.
That's culture.
Western culture.
My thoughts on the victim, so-called victim, I think that she was aware of what's going on, and I think that she's been having an affair with this man for God knows how long, because she's been going to the church. You know what I mean? So they probably have a prior history of doing this.
So I think maybe the woman with the church situation, I do think it's possible that she had an on and off situation with that guy. Until I hear back from him, I can't really speak to.
You know, he's not gonna
He got targeted. Bring it up. He wasn't referred to him. He reached out to her through that lady hair probably. He knew she do hair. He knew about enough about her that she knew, like I think, the kid situation, her lifestyle. He knew her finance. He knew everything about her to make her so flexible, target him. He felt comfortable. He made him move, and it worked. You know, with the White House, I think she knew she wasn't gonna say that. She like something men have women by women. You know, ain't gonna be no problem. They can sometimes they can tell that. I don't know, but they love them to do that. He set her up.
You think?
Yeah, I know he set her up. And a woman that's responsible, not knowing that man from Jack the Who, he coming out with that thought in mind, it's gonna be some. The automatic reaction.
Y'all just see him. He like they gonna be scrapping. There's gonna be some hands thrown.
They gonna be some gold landed. And shit say it. You know what I'm saying? I don't care who wipe it. You knock that bitch over there. There's gonna be some shit going down. You know, before you get these panties, you're gonna take these panties. You know.
So I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts on the first scenario and the second scenario? So the first scenario, Mr. Brooks, was the woman. She was contracted to do the hair of a wife, and he's a pastor of a mega church here in Atlanta. And the young lady was contracted to do the hair of his wife. And he came in while she was doing the lady's braids. And she, according to this young lady, sexually assaulted her, slid his penis inside of her vagina. Under her dress. Now, Rush seems to think that's you know, it was pre-planned. She had something going on already.
I think so too.
The producer thinks so too.
You know, I'm not saying it was purely sexual. We had some kind of underlying friendship, but he might have took it out fast. She wanted to go, but it happened. So she just let it went. You know, it was already kind of in line to that. It just came upon her before she probably was ready to do it. Because look what the situation was that. It was, you know, a romantic. That's a pretty crazy encounter. Hey,
right. That's what I'm saying. I don't think that was.
How you gonna get anything out of that? You got somebody in the middle of all this going on. How you gonna get your mind to settle and do something like that? So I'm quite sure that was his first time, probably his last time. You know, that she's not telling the truth.
Yeah, I just don't know if it was the first time with her, or I think, to be honest with you,
I think he done it open over again. That's his sexual practice.
He said this has been going on for years. One of the reasons I left years ago. You mean in Atlanta? He said too. So that means that the young man was not wrong for leaving her. So he agrees. He said,
well, let me ask you a question. Do you think he was wrong for leaving her?
No, he wasn't wrong. I can't judge him. He wasn't wrong.
I think based off of what the young man told me, he was wrong for making that the decision that he left for.
What? So what did he say?
So he said that he left her simply because she was hiding that baby. That baby. Not the rest of the kids, but because she was hiding the baby that she had sex with the pastor with, and as a result had.
Nah, he said that just to have his way out. He probably didn't even want to deal with her on that level anyway. She got 5 kids too. Those 5 kids is probably not even his.
I said with 5 kids, it's probably not even. The baby is the pastor's. I can guarantee you that. Look, I can be a whole Dana. That
she gave him a way out. He been wanted out in that relationship.
That is 100% the pastor's baby. I look. I'm gonna say that.
He pulled it up. She hiding and she gave man that too much going on.
Says she needs therapy before any relationship. You talking about the second woman in the second scenario? I think, yeah. Now, the young lady in the first scenario, I don't know if she's gotten help as a result of, her rape by the pastor or not. But
well, let me ask you this: is that pastor in prison for this allegation?
Oh no, it's not come out. She's not made it public record.
She ain't gonna put him up for rape. You want that child?
It's not true.
He refuses to do anything with the child or for the child directly, but he is financially supporting the child. So
she get money from him.
Yeah, she's getting money, but that's nothing. Children need.
That was her agenda, is to get to the bag. She got to the bag.
Keep letting him get divorced.
You think that the wife is making him pay child support?
Yeah,
more than likely, especially if she a woman of faith.
You gave him ultimatum. Do that. You got to think of that child. I'm gonna cut you.
Mr. Brooks said she a liar.
Why are you getting that?
Oh my God. Oh my goodness. Well, it's his, let me tell you something. I just personally feel like pastors and priests are held to a higher calling, and you should hold them to a higher level of accountability. I just can't. And even in the situation with the other guy.
That act, Doc, but we know what it is.
So you think it's okay for a man to decide? See, if this young man that decided to divest from this young lady as a result of her having a baby by the pastor, right? If he said, I knew she had kids, and so I decided to not go any further. I dated her for months, and then I found out this is the one that she was hiding because I kept hearing this baby in the background, right? If that what he was saying, and I left because she had kids, you guys know I've had people on the show before. They said, I'm in my 30s and I'm a single father, but or I'm a father of a kid and the mom has, I think the guy said the mom had custody or whatever, but he still was a father of a kid that obviously ain't the woman, isn't the women that he's dating. And he didn't want to date women with kids. So I'm 100% for people who are like, I don't want to date a woman with a child. Okay. However, I have a problem with a man that is going to date a woman for months, leading her own thing, and that something would be there. Well, and then when you find out that she's been sexually assaulted.
She was not. Please stop saying that. She was not sexually assaulted. It was. Yeah, it's better. Yeah.
Either way, listen. Even if the woman consented, let me tell you something. when we talk about the power dynamics between a member of clergy to a regular church member, it's still assault.
What do you mean by that? Break that down. What do you mean?
Because you see that person as almost your equivalent to direct connection with God. Why do you think that they hold men up to the priests and stuff? Why do you think they hold them to such a high bar?
Now you're smut, huh?
She might be a smut.
Now you're smut in everybody's eye because once you get
man, she's a jump off, man.
You get the negation, you become a smut. I don't care if you've been proven guilty or not. Once you get out,
that's his baby.
The streets.
That's 100% his baby. Listen, look, I have absolutely. I don't know how long she was having sex with him. If it was just a one encounter or not. That's the only thing that for me is up in the air. But I know that it's his child for sure.
I thought she was a realist. You're not.
I'm a realist. I've seen the child and I've seen him. Unless he got a doppelganger or twin that is a direct identified. You can't disseminate who's who. It's his damn child.
Hey, we were doing that. I agree.
Say half of the. I agree, Jenny. That's what I'm saying. I feel like he has. Like this is a pattern of behavior.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, because no man just does that. No pastor just does that. All of a sudden.
On top of your wife's deathbed, so potential deathbed.
Yeah, there are serial behaviors, and then there are crime of opportunity. This is a serial behavior.
I said, on both ends, it look like it was too consensual because that can't come out like.
I don't think there's anything. There's no such thing as consent. You're talking about a pastor.
Well, put it like that right here.
No.
Well, it wasn't no discontent, no move, get back, no fight words came out of her mouth to me that I heard.
So you're the leader of my flock, the leader of my church, and this is the only thing. If I am a single mother, I'm looking at the whole picture. She's a single mother with 5 children going to this church. Obviously, this church is her only real viable sense of a source of support as she's trying to reconstruct her life. The pastor now wants to have sex with her, and in the middle of his perverted mind, he thinks it's appropriate to do it while you're doing his wife's hair.
She could have
put out.
Walk the church down.
Jenny said a church smut. I can't.
She said, I told you smut. I know she's gonna say it. It's smut.
That's
she did it on her own.
That's rough.
That woman knew
she's an adult, and she knows what's going on, and she knows what she was doing. It's not like
he on his own.
Yeah, she set him up for that. Bitten all over like that. That man could help himself.
I'm looking at you with the side eye now. You're a whole sheep.
She wanted to
giving me
right? She was trying to get to the bag. All right.
You said she was doing what?
She wanted the D because she wanted to get to the bag.
I don't think raising kids is hard. And you're talking about right, like.
Yeah, but if you're getting
but she would have brought the church down, but how's she going to get a payout? Because she brings the church down and him down, she gets no money for helping her take care of them babies.
No, I'm saying she's going to sue him in a civil court because he want to do the damn to her. She's going to take care of her finances and do what she's going to do. Especially she could have she's the right to accuse him of rape and got him dead to the right. He's going to pay out of court. They're not going. He's been signed on paper. Believe that. What you wanted, what you need, check roll. Believe that.
I just think people like him.
He asked for that though. She didn't have it coming.
I just think
she could avoid the baby.
You think what? People like him, like what?
I think that people like him need to be held accountable because it's the thing. If we don't hold them accountable,
people like her should be held accountable.
I think that she's going through her own accountability. I think that he, however, needs to be held accountable because he's responsible for the lives of other people. And he has a propensity to be a serial rapist. So a serial offender.
Rapist, man.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
These women give it to them willingly. Okay?
Oh, you know,
No different.
listen.
No
Let me tell you
different.
something.
That,
I have,
listen,
and
let
it's
me
even
just
though
say
it's not
this,
my, it's even though.
let me just say
Okay,
this
go
real
ahead.
quick. Yes, it's a different setting from a football player and a mega church pastor, but same thing. You know, all the groupies is gonna holler at the star athlete.
That's
You know what I
different.
mean? And same thing
Star
with the
athlete
mega church
is
pastor.
no, a star
They got
athlete
groupies
is
too,
different.
and they get that groupie love.
He said get that groupie love. Good God.
Groupie love. You're right about that though.
So a star athlete is very different than the charge of a pastor. The charge of a pastor is a member of clergy. So it's like your doctor having sex with you while you're under anesthesia. So there, to me, what that is saying is that you're doing harm, and you're the person that takes an oath to do no harm to a person. You have the inequilibrium of power and the advantage in that situation.
Yes, Doc, he's wrong for what he did. I'm not condoning that act, but we have to recognize that the woman is not
Right.
innocent either.
I don't know.
Matter of fact, she's even worse than the pastor.
Why you gotta hide a baby?
You said what worse than a pastor?
Yeah, she's more grimier than the pastor because she's willingly and knowingly knows that his pastor's married, right? And doing the ladies here and him to allow this pastor to slide them drawers inside and let him slide in like that, you know, that's for her to put herself in that position, yo, it shows you she's a snake-like type being. Like, yo, she moved foul in life. You know what I mean? It's just that the only difference is just that it's just publicly known.
I just feel like the higher level of accountability is on that of the pastor.
Yeah,
and there should be a high accountability.
Moral, it's ethics. Like they have a code of ethics.
Same thing with her. So you trying to tell me what she did was ethical?
No, she's a regular person.
She's worse.
Okay, so
think about it. Listen. If she was a righteous individual, she would not put herself in that kind of position.
Yeah, but see, that's what I'm saying. So she may not be fully righteous, but he is. So she's the sinner.
He's been trained.
Right. He's not only trained, but he's ordained.
Exactly. He's ordained no better. He has proven he's supposed to know better.
Yeah, so it's not, he's supposed to be above fleshly and desires and stuff like that. He's at a different level. So right. It's just, I don't know. I mean, I don't know a single pastor that I can go and smash right now. Because I only know ethical pastors. They're married and they ain't doing it with some woman that they know. They're not doing it. They're not about to cheat on their wives. They're not about to disavow their coven, you know, and right.
I'm just saying that you're kind of giving this lady an excuse and a way out for her unethical behavior.
No. Her transgressions are her own. However, for me as a helping professional, somebody that's also equally a helping professional should not be out there actually hurting people. Yeah.
No, I mean, I agree. I agree with you on that.
But I agree with Mr.
Let's not let this jump off get off that easy. She was wrong too. She got a lot of explaining to do.
I don't know.
You know, it go both ways. Money, power, you're impressionable, you're young. He's a big influence type person. And
he a grown old ass man. You creep.
I'm just saying.
And she's a grown ass woman, and she's a freak too.
She's a young girl though. She's not really.
How old is she?
27.
Oh man, that's an adult, man. 27.
Yeah, 27.
30. Hold on. 27 years old with 5 kids.
Mm-hmm.
She's been probably sexually active since she was 16.
Probably, or probably before then. But to me, That's still not the centralized problem. The centralized problem is, how can an older man who is meant to get you out of your negative patterns of behavior now victimize you and do that?
Well, he one to filter the crack that ain't about that. You know, he just like got dirty pastors.
And I mean, it's a lot of dirty pastors, especially in Alabama. Mr. Brooks brought up this comment about, it was this. It's a pastor who literally gave lots of the flock HIV. He was having sex with all of them, and he knew he had HIV, and he knew he was sleeping with both the men and the women in that church. Yes. Yes.
What?
Yeah.
Men and women? Yo, that's crazy.
And I have a family member who is an ordained minister that I completely divest, and he and I haven't had a conversation since, but he slept with his wife's child. Like, I was floored. So it's a lot of things that pastors do that just make me
the mindset of people
just disgusting. So I just feel like there are a lot of things.
How do you get so far to become so weak?
First of all, I think that people wear a lot of masks. Like, I started this live off, social media has now given people more space to where it's okay for them to wear these various masks and be protected in their negative behaviors. So I think people in real life have been wearing masks forever, but it's harder to keep up that charade when you're out there in public and in real life, right? But they have grown so accustomed to do it, especially in the church. The church is the one place where that shit happens so frequently, and it's just overlooked because God forgives now all of a sudden. I'm Old Testament type of woman. God is not forgiving you. He is a wrathful God. Period. So you can't be doing all these things and you're the person that is responsible for this flock of people, and then expect for God not to pass no judgment and not to send your ass straight to hell with gasoline draws on.
Okay, Doc, we get it.
You coming down the board, ain't it? What stuff you do? How you gonna get close back? You get the allegations. Who's gonna come to the church and believe what you're trying to say after that again?
But they do, men. Men are gonna come to this church and believe, because they're gonna be like, yes, pastor, yes, pastor. We are weak. We are only the flesh. The flesh is weak. Right. Yes, the flesh is weak, but the spirit is strong, and so is my faith, and we're gonna get it right. Like, all those men, he gonna have an increase in men coming to his church, because he's gonna be like, oh man, the pastor couldn't even keep his dick in his pants.
But he couldn't keep his penis alone.
Damn right.
But, to be real with you, it's mostly women, single black mothers, that go to these churches. So
yeah, but I'm talking about in the aftermath where the scandal is revealed.
Yeah, how you recover from that?
It's men that will continue to go. Women will divest, because especially those older women that really have been the force behind your congregation continuing. Yeah, they're not going to continue to invest in you, because now that man that they pedestalize is only a man.
Yeah, but the percentage of men actually going to church is very minute. It's not. There's more women going to church than men.
Now, says we need to discuss age and age of consent. So I maybe we will talk about that more in depth, because I feel like the age of consent is still, and you guys may not know, but it's still, they're trying to move it up even further, to 25 now from 18.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, hell nah.
Yeah.
That's absurd.
Yeah. Because they're saying that at 18, young men and women still don't have, especially young men, don't have the wherewithal to make informed decisions. Especially when it comes to smoking, alcohol usage, and things like that. It's really important that we protect the longevity of life by, moving the age of consent up, because those are the pivotal moments where kids are dying in accidents as a result of being inebriated by alcohol or substances. Yeah, all of it. Yeah. So I I don't agree with that because I feel like society has already codified these kids and enabled them to age 25 anyway. You know, moving the age of consent up to 25 only gives more time for these parents to not further codify these kids and not prepare them for life, and then the suicide numbers go up in the older age. I'm gonna be very honest. That's the way I look at it. But they're saying that young people need more support during their age of young adulthood.
Mm-hmm. Well, no more protection in a sense. Well,
more support.
Yeah.
That means the parents got to be parents longer.
Right. I'm talking about you got to be protected longer from the some system, parent system, the legal system. You can't be legal 18 and make your own decisions.
Right.
All that stuff there, create problems.
They better figure it out at a different stage because right now I ain't got time for that. I ain't trying to be a parent for longer than I need to.
They're going to make a parent problem for 7 more years,
says, I think they changed the age of consent to keep your little girls young. I don't think so. Because changing the age of consent really only keeps males younger. Young women have to become young women and have to be responsible once they get their periods. So at puberty and before sometimes, women are becoming women, responsible people who have to keep up with the time clock and do all these very adult things as in regards to their body and their physical safety and health. And boys are still living their best life out here climbing trees and doing the base, you know what I mean? The basic things of being a boy, right? So,
they're older women. I don't think so. I disagree with that.
Because older women are finding it hard to find men. No,
they're not. Them young boys, they parents,
right?
Play, boy.
Yeah. Well, look, let me tell you something. We don't have no problem finding young men.
Sure don't.
I have an influx of men in their 20s and 30s. They're like,
for real though. Where you at? Now,
all the way.
Older men didn't have a problem finding women, period.
Yeah, I think it's more of an issue with older men because the thing is, what will happen, the older men have more of a, you're definitely going to just be a sugar daddy versus,
exactly.
That woman.
You're going to be either or.
You get no companionship, no exchange.
Not if you keep up with your aesthetics, you know what I mean? Like if you're physically fit, like you can't be 45 with a bare belly, you know what I mean? Like you gotta be in shape. 45 got some nice, got a nice bank account, drive a nice whip, got your own crib. Yo, you
but you see all those things, you see all those things you just named though? All those things are still sugar daddy content. And 45 isn't old. So for these young girls, they're not looking for a man that's 45 because you still got years. You got 20-something years ahead of you. They're not trying to invest on 20 years. They're only trying to invest 10 years or less. So you got to be 60 to be old or older. So that way they can see, oh, he'll be dead in, less than 10 years and we'll collect the check. That's all they're looking for.
I disagree. My father, he bagged the chick in the 20s. They gotta get kid together, you know what I mean? And she got more bread than my pops. He an old head. You know what I mean?
I'm not saying it doesn't happen.
Yeah, but y'all making it seem like it's something like it's a far-fetched thing. Like, yo, listen. From what I've been witnessing, from what I've been seeing, like, yo, a male's game could last up to when he's 25 all the way up to he's 80. A chick, her game only gonna last until she's up to mid-20s. After she hit the wall, it's a wrap for her. She's not gonna get a real relationship. You know what I mean? Now, if she look alright, yes, she's gonna get an influx of young and older men trying to get at her just to smash, but they're not gonna wipe her out. You know what I mean?
That's interesting.
It's interesting too because you probably not feeling it because you're biased. You're not a real realist. You're gonna be biased about this. You know what I mean?
I'm not biased. I just know a lot of women who have gotten married in their late 40s, 50s, 60s even. Remarried, have been married several times over their tenure. So, I think it's the quality of woman and maybe the quality of man that she's seeking. So it depends on which relational pools people are dipping in.
That I can agree on that. Yeah.
So, my final thoughts are, first of all, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Make sure you guys find a meaningful way to advocate, in the remaining days left of the month. Find your purpose and your passion, but also find some way to support a person that is currently still fueling through the difficulties of isolation and depression behind the screen. Also, if you are a woman who is going out here having sex with these pastors for money, just stop. To the young lady that sent her relationship request and you had all of those heartfelt emotions that you recognized and things like that, I suggest that you get a therapist, and then also invest in yourself a polyamorous lifestyle coach, or poly specializing therapist. That way you can really sit down and come up with some sound boundaries around what it is that you need in your life. If you truly want to become poly, it's one of the discernments that you have to make in your life in order for you to even enter that realm. And more importantly, figure out what it is within yourself that keeps you in this same cycle of pain, attracting men that are emotionally unavailable for you or otherwise. This young man obviously wasn't available for you. He was somebody else's husband. Not that he was somebody else's good man, because he obviously wouldn't have been out here in these streets with you. But, people do what they do. I think that we have to be permissive with ourselves and allow ourselves to see the most vulnerable parts of us in order for us to improve who we are. Mr. Brooks says older men have. If you suffer from diabetes type 2 or. No. Mr. Brooks says older men have. You're echoing me. Says, I have no problem being a sponsor. Older women find it hard to pay for a younger man long term. Can you turn it off?
Salute to Mr. Brooks for dropping the big fact, though. That's a fact.
I don't think, since older women find it hard to pay for a younger man long term, I'm trying to figure. I don't think older women are looking to pay for a younger man, though. What's that about?
They will have to in order for him to keep that younger man around.
Well, that's interesting.
How will help you?
I don't know. I think so, because I've never. I would never.
Of course not. You're a woman.
I'm gonna put my lipstick on.
You won't be able to understand what he's talking about. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
Keep yourself up. You get free from now on.
So I'm a woman I'm never gonna pull out my purse, especially for a man. Ew.
Exactly.
However, that's not to say I've never dated young men. But I wish the day it would be the end of days. Not paying for a date with a guy. I'm not paying for a younger dude.
That's why older women can't bag a young man.
Well, I don't think that older women are looking to bag anything. I think that older women who are rested in their femininity, they practice their proper position as women. So that means that the man is the one that's trying to bag them.
Well, here's the thing. What Mr. Brooks is kindly saying is that, after a woman hits a certain age, she's no longer resourceful. So therefore, like, she's not gonna be like, yo, a woman that's 25, that's she's at her peak. Like, that's the best time for her to back her a sucker. But after she passed the age of 25 and she done hit the wall,
sucker. Oh my God.
After she done hit the wall, she does not have that same capability in her 20s to back a resourceful sucker. You know what I mean?
Jenny wants to know, what's your price? How much do you cost?
I cannot be bought, woman. What?
You sell a free run.
She said, Jenny, like, we're just gonna auction him off. Like, anybody got $1? The dollar, I heard $1. Dollar got a once, dollar going twice. So to the person, auction him off, you guys. But I don't know. I don't think that women are truly out here.
I don't think you understand that kind of dynamic. You know what I mean? Like, yo, a guy that has resources, that's somewhat socially calibrated, has power, success, notoriety, you know, chances are he's gonna seek a younger female that's fertile and that looks attractive. You know what I mean? I don't know if you ever heard the saying, but we smash back like attractive females for bragging rights. You know what I mean? Like, it's just the thing that men do when they what's the word? When they fellowship amongst each other, is them bragging rights. Like, this me right here. You know what I mean? And that's just one of those things that makes a younger female more valuable than a chick that done hit the wall. See, the chick that done hit the wall and that's single and that's alone, her thing is that she was supposed to lock down somebody in her early 20s so that when she did hit the wall, that there's somebody that has a genuine love and commitment for her. But because she was sweated out in her youthful years until she hit the wall, she's no longer resourceful. She's just going to be an old, better woman that's single.
So
and that's somebody that she see for the rest of her life. You know?
Oh, so basically what you're saying is that you agree with the idea of the sexual marketplace value that Kevin Samuels places on women's value and worth.
One, that's not Kevin Samuels. That's not. You make it seem like it's like a Kevin Samuels ideology. Most men in the red pill community understands this and they know this is true. This is not something that stems from Kevin Samuels. You know what I mean? It's just a topic that every woman likes to hate on because it puts them in a negative light. You know what I mean? So yeah, of course you're not gonna have an agreement with Kevin Samuels about the sexual marketplace on the SMV value because it totally puts women in a bad light. You know what I mean?
Why does it put them in a bad light?
Because your interpretation of that would be that because after you don't hit the wall, you're worthless. Why would a guy wife up a chick that has been used up and that has baggage? And especially if you're a man of value, why would he put himself in that kind of position?
Well, I think every man has value, and I think every woman has value, but I think that their value lies outside of the constructs of sex. So I think Kevin Samuels' explanation of sexual marketplace value is different from the previous interpretation socially of sexual marketplace value. That's why I asked the question, because it's more so based off of the age of the female versus the age and activity of of her actual sexual marketplace.
Well,
So
no, go ahead, go ahead.
you know, you have a few women far in between who practice 100% celibacy and they've never had sex, and they are in their 30s or 40s and they still haven't had sex because they've not been wifed.
Nah.
So according to Kevin Samuels, these women have a high propensity of dying alone and never marrying because of their age. But when we conduct physical exams, these women have extremely viable eggs. They're extremely healthy. They're not at risk for high risk pregnancy. And they still have a pretty high propensity of getting married. They just hadn't focused on that. Now, they may have had their goals in life misaligned the vast majority of their life, but I like that. I agree. Texas hockey cars. Marriage is the leading cause of divorce. It's true. It's true. That's a fact. That's a fact. Mm-hmm. But so I don't know. I think there are a lot of ways to interpret a woman's usefulness, and I don't think it's due to sex, because if we looked at a man's usefulness as it pertains to sex, that's a whole nother conversation. So the thing is, sex is not what keeps relationships healthy, and that's not the extent of the value. A man who has a penis that doesn't work anymore has no use for a woman's sexual marketplace value, essentially.
But he's probably providing provision and protection.
He probably is, but his penis doesn't work, so it doesn't matter.
Right, but he's that man whose penis doesn't work anymore is probably paying the bills and protecting her from getting fucked up.
He probably
it's been like that since day one.
Right, but that's the point.
Because of modern day.
Now that might be true,
and people being civil allow women to function by themselves. You know what I mean? But if we was living in a primitive lifestyle where a primitive lifestyle in a Mad Max environment, women would need men. Most definitely, they would need them.
I feel like women
whether if he had the ability to pipe them down or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So women will always need men, and it's not about sex. That's the point. But the thing is, a man could very much, and science has shown us, without pharmaceuticals in America, men over the age of 50, the vast majority of them, 75%, would not be sexually active, because your diet is something that prevents you from being healthy in those latter years of your life, and the quality of your sex life declines. So does your testosterone.
Yeah, you're speaking about the guys that eat out junk food every day, that don't work out. You know what I'm saying? Look at my pops, for example. He's over 50 and he has a child with a younger female. So therefore his penis is still working.
So being over 50 and having
and he's still piping these hoes down.
Like, I mean,
he's trying to pass them around me. I'm like, yo, I can't touch you touch, man. Come on. Yeah,
they can still have kids in their 50s. They should be able to. Now, they should really have the issues when they start, in their 60s is when most men start to have the vast majority of their issues. 50 isn't it. 50 should be the best years of a man's life. That 29 going on 30, that year and their entire 50s, that entire decade, should be welcome to sexuality. Essentially. But when it's done, it's done. Says I'm 44 and I've been single since 1998. Whoa. Single and dating? Single and mingling? Single and unavailable? What do you mean? Single is a lot of things. Marital status single? Do your parts still work? So that's that women's attitude. What? If your parts work? I don't know. But you know, what'd you say?
He's probably MGTOW.
MGTOW?
Yeah, man, going their own way. Probably doesn't deal with women no more.
That's the scariest ones.
Doc, you're not a realist, man. You're being so biased. What's up with that?
Not necessarily. Like, if you said I don't deal with the relationships, that's one thing. But when you say I don't deal with women anymore because of the trauma said women have caused in my life, destruction and all that good stuff, that's a whole nother thing.
Listen, you know, with all this Me Too movement and child supports and alimonies, man, you would, if you were a man, you probably feel the same way.
Oh, I don't have a problem with men divesting for that reason, but you still have a need for a female companionship, sex. So now if you're saying that you're 100% using your hands and your homeboys, that's different. That's still not conducive. You can't just become a gay person simply because, you know, women put you through difficult times. That's what trauma is. Texas hockey cards. It means that you've gone through difficult moments in life or moments in life where you realize that people continuously hurt you one way or another, financially, physically, emotionally, etc. That's what trauma is. Well, in this day and age, the vast majority of men who are going their own way, the only need that they recognize they have for women is for procreation and sex. And that could definitely be a reality. So, those were two options. And so, if you divest from women completely, what are you? There are only two options, correct? Rush, what do you think? What are the options?
You're going to be paying like this book $25 on up.
Yeah, so.
Okay, come again, Doc. Repeat that again.
So there are only two options. If you divest from women sexually, what options are there?
Celibacy.
Celibacy is an option, but you divest it from women. So if you are celibate, that means that you're not having sex until you get married. Then that means that you would be getting married to a man.
Well, let me revise my statement.
Okay.
There's men in MGTOW that practice monk mode, which means that they acknowledge that they do not want to ever have sex again.
Okay, yes. So yeah, abstinent. I did say that. So you can abstain from sex physically with other people or use your hands. But either way, you're not engaged in heterosexuality. Yes or no?
Nah, see, you're just trying to shame them for
That's not shaming them.
No. Yes,
I believe in walking in your truth.
Let me explain why it's a shaming tactic.
Okay.
Just because, hold on, producer. Just because a man just refused to play the game, a losing game at that, just because he does not want to engage in that kind of game, doesn't make him, you know, it doesn't make him any less of a man. It doesn't make him what you guys are trying to insinuate, like, yo, he's gay. Like, yo, nah. He's just tired of the game. He knows the game is rigged. He doesn't want to, you know, impregnate a female and get caught. Like, these are all traps to men. Now, some dudes, like the producer, you know, he's a stand-up guy. He comes from that old school mentality where a man is supposed to, just take it out and just give women provision. You know, the era I'm from, we don't do that. We sucker free over here. You know what I mean? And I'm not insinuating that the producer is a sucker. It's just that he's not up to par with what's going on in this day and age. You know what I mean?
Right.
He's still, you know what I mean? He's not, but I respect that and I understand that he just comes from a different cloth. You know what I mean? But you saying that?
So do you need sex?
I need sex.
Why? This guy says you don't need sex. It's not a necessity.
I need sex.
Oh.
To a certain extent.
Mm-hmm.
To keep me young, Bobby, keep me in touch with myself in reality. Give me
Science shows us that. But if you decide to divest from sex, then what is it that you are going to, if you only divest from sex with women, because that's what I'm getting, right? I'm just trying to clarify.
This sounds like some type of, trick question. You know what I mean? But let me just say this.
No, I'm trying to clarify. So MGTOW are men going their own way. That means that you're going away from women, correct?
Let me say this.
Okay.
It's not because of women. It's the traps that come along with the women.
I get all of that. Yeah, I get all of that. Totally get all of that.
That's why guys don't want to submit themselves into this game, because the game is rigged. You know what I'm saying? You out of all women to understand this because you have sons. You know what I mean? You should be enlightening your sons on what kind of traps is out there for him when he's engaging with these women. You know what I mean?
So I get that part, right? However, my sons are not divested from women altogether. They have decided to not engage in sex until they find themselves married to the woman that they have selected, because that's the person that they know is obviously not a part of the game.
That in itself is a trap.
That's their preference, because for them, my sons, they're very much still attracted to women.
That what you just said, that in itself is a trap for your son, because now you're not even giving them game on true female nature. That's your job, to get him hip to the game. Or he's going to be taken advantage of, just like all the rest of these suckers I see in the United States.
Well, the vast majority of my sons are not in the United States. However, and they don't date American women. But I will say this. Women are women no matter where you go. Now, their decisions because they have a preference.
I've moved out the country before, so I know what you're talking about.
They have a preference of women, and they love women. They like the way they look. They like the way they move.
I do too, but see the difference between me and your sons. I know what it is. You know what I mean? They might not be enlightened on what it is. You know what I mean? Because from how you're speaking, I don't think you giving them. I don't think you're letting them know the possibilities on being falling into the snares of evil female nature. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I let them know what it is that I know, and I don't know a lot of those things firsthand, but they know everything that I know and what they know from observation. But so, if my sons were gay, to go to that comment, I would support them as well. But their preference is not men, and their preference is not divesting from women for sure. Their preferences are definitely women, and there's nothing I can do with the way that they decide to do or don't do, what they're going to do in relationships. However, what I will say is this. When a man says, I do not have a need for women and I don't want to have sex with women as well, when we talk about trying to draw the line of delineation as to what your sexual orientation is, what is your answer?
Yo, man, you're creating confusion.
No, The relationship piece, no, the relationship piece is separate. When you said I don't invest in relationships is one thing, but when you say no, I'm completely divested from women, help me understand. And you say I don't need sex. Sex isn't a necessity from a woman. What does that leave? What options do that leave? It either leaves the option that you're abstinent the rest of your life, or you're
transportation.
wait.
That sexual energy they will probably use for a female, they will apply that to something else that's more useful.
Well, the human lifespan, especially the male lifespan, is contingent upon certain neurons firing in a certain way and your neuroreceptors transmitting certain types of energy from your brain. And so sex is a part of that. That's a necessity.
No, it's not a necessity. We're social creatures. You're a doctor, you know this. Okay, as an elder, right? An elder could keep living on if he has a strong community behind him. If he's able to wake up every morning and have a friend to converse with. He doesn't need to have sex in order to keep on living.
So you may not see what he does behind closed doors.
Amongst good people allow you to live longer.
So I get all of that. So you may not see what goes on behind closed doors with that elder, but I can guarantee you that his sexual needs are taken care of.
I disagree, Doc, but you know, like you're making it seem like it's like one way. It's like, yo, you want some Thanos shit, it's like one way or another. It's like, yo, nah. The reason why dudes do not want to there's a MGTOW, and dudes is going their own way and they want to divest themselves from women, is because there's repercussions that comes with that. It's not that they don't desire to be with women, but there's certain consequences that comes dealing with women in society.
Right. So I get that part. Right. So I get that part. I'm not talking about that. Right. So I'm not talking about those men. I'm talking about the specific man who said that he does not need woman even for sex and procreation. So I'm not talking about the man that is divested from the experience of the intimate partner relationship companionship.
I've never heard a man say that. Yo, I don't.
This guy just said it. What's wrong with you? Are you not reading the comments?
I don't hear that, but I hear women say that. I don't need.
I asked the question because that's what the comments are commenting.
That's what women say. Men don't say that.
Look, he's a man. Unless he's a woman commenting on a male's profile, that's what this guy commented earlier.
I think he needs to. He's probably not answering the question like he needs to. He probably needs to revise his statement. It probably is not explaining what he really wants to say. You know what I mean?
Well, I asked it a couple of times, and I was asking it based off of his responses.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not my comment. Like, I didn't start talking about MGTOW.
But from a man's perspective,
right?
You know, like you should understand why there's a MGTOW movement, and men need to be aware on how to engage themselves with women. You know what I mean?
So I'm not talking about that. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing or a good thing that men decided to go their own way in whatever way they decide to go, or women going their own way, whatever way they decided to go. What I'm saying is, personally, I believe in my personal constructs. I believe in interdependence of human beings, right? Because we have a close and intimate connection that needs to be fulfilled longitudinally in order for us to remain emotionally.
Men don't need that.
Believe it or not,
I could go live in the woods and I'll be at peace.
Okay.
By myself.
Women could
too. I don't need, to engage. I don't need to have I don't need that kind of companionship you're talking about. Like I could thrive by myself. You know what I'm saying? Like, women seek out for that kind of validation and, the lovey-dovey feeling type thing. Like, I don't need that. You know what I mean? I will be at peace living in the woods by myself. and find joy and fulfillment off little things. Women
So
they can't do that.
So let's
Women
go
are
off your theory.
Women are very materialistic. They have to live. They have to live in a comfortable environment, or they'll be unhappy. A man, they can live in a 1-bedroom apartment on one mattress, and that nigga will be happy. Not a female. A female can't do that. They don't have the ability to do that.
Okay, so a woman and a man being minimalistic or not, or materialistic, that's not the comparison. So if you say that a man, because you are a man, you can go out and you can live and divest from having any close connectivity, then help me understand why men historically have been known for going into relational companionships where they are the ones that are providing for a woman and the woman is not giving anything, as you guys say.
Well, those guys are the suckers with money. And
right.
You have a lot of those out there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they have the money and resources to lure a attractive female or any female to that nature, bag them and engage in these unfulfilling relationships. Yes, you have those suckers out there. Yeah, but that's not the majority.
Right.
That's
so
the majority of men, though.
No, in the beginning of humanity, it was the majority of men. It was all men.
Nah, man. Listen, in the beginning, if you was a thoroughbred and you was bodying niggas back in the day, and your clan was on point, yo, it was no problem for the women to flock to you for that, just because of that alone. You know what I mean?
Okay. So let me give you this one. If men had no use for companionship, for softness, for peace, there never would have been brothels. Men have the innate need for closeness, connectivity. Women commoditize that.
Listen, Doc.
Yeah.
A man can survive without a woman.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, but historically,
a man does not need a woman, but a woman.
I get what you're saying, but historically, men have shown that that's not the truth. They'll spend their last dollar in a whorehouse.
That's not true. That's an idiot.
Historically,
listen. No respectable, intelligent man would spend his last dollar on pussy. You know what kind of man that does that? A simp. And let me break down that acronym.
I didn't say about respectability politics. I'm saying historically.
What it means is someone who idolized mediocre pussy. You know what I mean? That's what a simp does. You know what I mean?
Okay.
There's a difference between a simp and a man. A man will not do that.
So here it is. Let me put it in its purest form. The sex industry has men and women selling sex. Who do you think is making the most money?
What do you mean? As far as the sex workers?
Yeah.
The woman makes most of the money.
So if a man had no need for woman and sex,
the consumer base is mostly women.
The consumer base. Nope. The consumer base for female prostitutes is the male.
You're talking about prostitution. That's different.
That's what sex workers are.
That's a different statistic. And listen, not every guy in the world is gonna buy pussy. Some dudes don't.
So I get that. But historically, women have been needed for closeness, and that is intimate partner companionships where men don't buy sex directly. And whorehouses. I'm just saying. And wow. So what you're saying is that men do not have a need.
The only reason why that was going on back then like that is because
it's even now. It's even now. Sir, it's even now. What are you talking about? What are you talking about now?
It's different now.
It's huge now.
It's different now because you guys are led to the illusion that you can survive on your own. And that's the biggest lie the government can tell y'all.
So the government has nothing to do with the abundance of men purchasing sex from women.
That's a small percentage, Doc, man. Not every guy
No,
buy
the
pussy.
sex industry is the #1 crime industry in the world. They even go so far as to traffic women into the sex industry. So if men did not need sex from women, this would not be happening. If there is no demand, there is no consumer base. So there is no product provided.
Entertain your thought. Let me entertain that crazy thought you just spurred out. The only reason why it's happening is because men are more dominant and they could do that shit. You can't fight that off. No group of women could beat men. So therefore, y'all will always be in a subservient position in that kind of setting because the man is more dominant. Now, the only reason why y'all got room to breathe now is because the simps allow y'all to breathe, man. If it wasn't for these sucker ass niggas, y'all would not be in position of power, period. But because,
that's
of the
thing.
simps,
so even
women are in the position to have some type of power or have the illusion of having power. You know what I mean? But it's because of the men allow you to do that. That's why. But we don't need a woman in order to survive. We can survive on our own.
So I get that. That's what you say. So I get that's what you say.
A man don't need a woman.
Right. So I get that. And to be honest with you, it goes even deeper than just the sex component. But the thing is, the sex component is the only clear line of delineation showing that your ideals are disproven. If men really didn't need sex from women, they would not. Men would not risk their lives. These sex industries are ran by men.
You know what you just said is a lie. You're lying right now.
Look, human trafficking industries, sex trafficking industries are ran by men. So if men really believed that sex didn't sell to men, they would not go and risk their lives and their freedom to go and traffic other women in this country to still sell them into sex slavery. They wouldn't do that. There is a market, a huge market for it, and that's the reason why.
The reason why that's happening is because y'all can't do shit about it. A woman can't do shit about that.
But so who cares if a woman has something to do about it? The reality is men have a market to where they know other men, because they're men.
Just thank God right now, y'all got freedom and this whole, we're not living in
but nobody cares about freedom
type of environment.
Yeah, but that's not what this conversation.
The environment that we lived in.
So that's the thing. Even if this was a mad environment that we lived in, men would still be sex trafficking.
Because we're civil people, it's an abnormal thing, and it's repercussions of moving in that kind of manner. You know what I mean? And the only reason why I'm entertaining this thought is because I just want to prove a point to you that men don't need women to survive, but y'all need us to survive.
Right. So survival and needs are based on belief systems. If a man truly believed that he didn't need women,
Doc, you are so. Oh my goodness!
If a man truly believed that he didn't need women, listen, the sex trafficking ring would not exist. It wouldn't. Because you cannot prove, or you can't even walk a theory across the room that says, like, well, only 2% of the men in the population of men are out here buying women for sex, right? If that were true, then we wouldn't have an abundance of trucks getting busted, houses getting busted for sex trafficking. You think they're flying in and boating in all these women just for the 2% of men? No. Make it make sense to me. The realities are this. If men truly do want to go their own way and they want to divest from women, I have no problem with it. I have no problem with whatever y'all choose to do. However, you still have to have a clearly defined sexual orientation.
Let me debunk what you just said.
Go ahead.
The percentage of men engaging with women is declining at a serious rate. The marriage percentage is declining. Divorce rates is increasing. The people that initiate the divorce rate is majority of women. That's in a marriage, and on top of that, you know, like your Valentine's Day and all that. Like, do some buy women flowers no more. You know, that declined. You know, back in the day, dudes used to buy women jewelry. They're not doing that no more because the jig is up. A lot of these guys is waking up, and trust me, the generation that's under me, they definitely sucker free. Trust me. And remember, I said this to you. In the next 10 years from now, there's going to be a lot of homeless, single, old women. You're different because you got a tangible career, and you probably sitting on some decent bread that, because you proclaim that you're a doctor. So I'm going to assume that you're caked out. But the average woman don't have that kind of career. So therefore, she's either gonna be roommates with another cat lady, or she's gonna be homeless in the streets, begging for a dude like me to take them in. But you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna be like, nah, take a hike. I'm gonna go holler at the 20-year-old Jenny down the block. You know what I mean?
But that's still a woman.
Yeah.
So they're still not divesting from women. That's what I'm saying. So for me, you got to make it make sense. So you have to have a sex. Even if you decide to take the red pill, you got to have a sexual orientation. Like this guy clearly said earlier, he was not engaging in relationships or sex with women. So if you say that you're not engaging in relationships with women, that's one argument, and that's fine.
Yeah, but by you making that statement, you're insinuating that he's a cocksucker. He's not a cocksucker.
I never thought about that. Honestly, I never thought about that.
Let me finish.
Never thought about that.
He's just letting you know the jig is up and he's not falling for the traps no more.
I didn't thought about that.
I mean,
that's why he felt the way. So only you two got that from that, not me.
I got that too, right? So he gonna take it like that.
Good God. So I didn't. That's not what I was insinuating. I was trying to draw a clear line of delineation for a possible third sexual orientation amongst those types of men. Because here's the thing. I've already been leaning towards the gender fluid thing, right? So some people are gender fluid and we have to redefine and ask them what they want to be called. Do they want to be called he, she, blah, 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 all of these things. So I'm asking, my question was directed towards, well, what does that make you? If you are a person, because everyone has to have a sexual preference, a sexual orientation. So if you have no sexual preference for women, are you gay?
It's not.
Are you sexually non-conforming? Because sexually non-conforming can become a thing. So that means that you don't have a sexual preference because you're not engaged in sex.
What it is. It's a heterosexual male that sees the game for what it is, and he's no longer engaging himself into that game. It doesn't mean that he doesn't desire women no more. He probably still desires women, but he know he can't fuck with a woman because there's repercussions that comes with that shit. And
so that's the thing. I entertain that idea, and that's what I was asking. So that would mean that if you still have a sexual desire for a woman, you're using your hand. If you have no sexual desires whatsoever, that would mean that you're sexually fluid or whatever you want to fucking call it. I don't know, but that would just mean we'd have to find another name for that.
You're making oh my goodness, you're making this such a confusing thing, and it's not.
It's not. So you guys make it confusing.
Listen. I'm telling you what it is. Guys that's going their own way, they're doing that because it's not because they don't desire women. They still desire women, but they know they can't fuck with them because there's negative repercussions that comes with it to fuck with a female. See, you don't care because you don't have to deal with child support. You don't have to deal with going to court trying to fight for custodial rights just to see your kid. You don't gotta worry about shit like that because you done. You know what I mean? But the average male, has to worry about that when he engages himself with a female. You know what I
So
mean?
wait, you think child support is in custody battles are limited to men?
You saying it's more likely to happen to a man than a woman?
No.
Yeah, man.
I've seen lots of women lose custody of their kids.
This is where we're not gonna
A lot of them, especially in the state of Georgia. We know in the state of Georgia they don't play. Mostly it's the men that's receiving child support from the women. In Georgia, like, I'm gonna need you to make a clear line of delineation. In the southern states, these young women are the ones who are running away from responsibility, and these young men are the ones receiving child support from these young women because they both in the clubs.
I don't believe that, but okay.
It is what it is.
Yeah. The island is all,
and they don't care. The women don't care about paying child support, so what? They get to go to the club, put on their.
Right. But it's mostly men that pays child support, and I gotta cough up a lot of bread for attorney just to be in his kid's life. You know what I mean?
No.
This is what I see. This is the reality that I'm in. I don't know what multiverse you in, but the verse I'm in, dudes is getting real, and that's just one of bad situations dealing with the women. Like this along.
No, but I get that.
Now hold on. Let me just say this. I myself cannot live without a woman. I like to deal with women. You know what I mean? But we can't live without y'all. We don't need y'all to survive. You know what I mean? But I myself is not going to go make child. You know what I mean? Because in life,
well, that young man that was on here specifically said that he has no use. Go back to his comment about sex. He specifically said he has no use for a woman to include sex and sexual urges and all that good stuff. These are comments that he was making.
Right. Every man's different. But
so I asked questions on that line because I needed to try and understand what does it mean? What does that mean? So, I don't care. Like, right, what is that need for sex? What is it for what? For him, that's when we were talking about at least a man has a sexual need or a sexual urge for a woman. He said no. Go back to his other comments. He had a whole line of them.
But from how you're making your statement, you're making it seem like every man is like on some.
No, I was trying to understand specifically MGTOW men that also do not want to engage in sex with women.
How you're projecting your statement, you're making it seem like every man that lives is subservient to his lust and he has no control over that. Not every man lives a lifestyle like that. You know what I mean? Like, there's dudes out there that like women with intellect. There's dudes out there that like women for their loving and compassionate nature. You know what I mean? Like, all these things I'm talking about, these are different attributes that come from women that dudes enjoy from women. You know what I mean? It's not.
And I agree, but all of that comes with a certain level of maturation. So a man's initial urges for sex are very primal. It doesn't have any connections to any intellect. It doesn't have anything past the aesthetics and his physical urge for sex, which is why men go through puberty so awkwardly. So that's a basic thing. But we're talking about this grown man who specifically said he had no need for sex. Sex is for procreation. That's the purpose of it. You see his comment? So he does not want to have any relationship whatsoever with women. He's completely divested from women. And sex leads to procreation.
Read between the lines of what he's saying, man.
I got his first comments. So his first comments, I got them. So the producer's going backwards, not in order. But what I'm saying is his first comments, I could get it. Until he started saying he didn't have a need for sex and didn't want to have sex with women, that's when I started asking those questions. Because the thing is,
that statement is coming from a place of like in the way of venting. You know what I mean? Because
I talked about the trauma. He said he's not traumatized. He ain't venting.
He ain't venting. then he probably don't need sex.
Right. So I'm
You know
trying
what I
to
mean?
understand from
But, yo,
him,
don't
what
take
does that now mean for his?
listen, Doc, don't
Right.
take this one comment and think that every man is like
I
this
didn't say
man.
that. I didn't say that.
You know
What
I mean?
I asked,
This is
that's
an
not what I
isolated
said.
situation. You know what I mean?
That's not what I said. I asked him, so what does that mean your sexual orientation is? If you are MGTOW and divested completely from women, and you don't have a need for sex from women, and you see sex as procreation, procreation as a trap with women, what does that make your sexual? My question was directed to him. If you are not, so you can only be heterosexual, gay, or
Doc,
what?
he's not a cocksucker. He would have came out and said he's a cocksucker. He's not
I
a
didn't-
cocksucker.
I didn't say he was a
He's a
cocksucker.
man.
I'm looking for how
Let me say
he describes himself.
Let me say this. He's a man that's probably still desiring women, but he does not want to deal with them because there's serious
Right, Miss Andy.
repercussions that comes with that. You know what I mean?
I mean, and that might be that definitely might be the case, but I mentioned that and he said no.
Then I don't know, Doc. He got to go see a doctor like you then. You know what I mean?
No.
To fix whatever he's
No, he needs to look within and find out what it is within himself that he feels like he identifies with, and then he can come back and share it with us. My question, though, was to understand then, what are we now having a possible different sexual orientation altogether? That was the purpose for the line of questions.
It's not that, dude. You know what I mean? For a man that respect the MGTOW movement, these guys still desire women, but they just don't want to deal with the bullshit. It's that simple. You know what I mean? Now, whatever dude's talking about, that's him. He doesn't speak for every man in the world. That's just one isolated conversation you having with a dude that does not agree on engaging with women on that kind of level. And I can empathize with him because I see the bullshit. You know what I mean? Yeah, y'all run everything. Y'all run corporate America. You know what I mean? Y'all run all these jobs. You know what I mean? Like when it comes to these jobs, man, you are not. If a female makes a statement about a male, that male is not gonna beat that woman in that battle, Unless if he's a high profile man with money and power. That's the only way you could maneuver a move like that from a woman. But other than that, if you're an average man and a woman accuses you of something, man, it's a wrap for you. Whether it's in the corporate America at a fucking normal 9 to 5, or even in the public setting, it's a wrap for you. Because a woman's voice and opinion is law. Right now, a woman can accuse a man of rape if she knows his first and last name. That nigga go to jail. Then they gonna ask questions. That nigga going to jail first, and he better have lawyer money, or it's gonna be
maybe that young lady from the earlier scenario needs to accuse the pastor of rape so he can go to jail and some questions can get asked. Yeah. She still got time now. Statute of limitation is a couple of years here.
She could have had avoided.
Doc, she a jump off. Come on now. I thought she was a realist.
She could be a jump off. I'm not saying that she isn't, but what I'm saying is it's a child involved at this point. Yeah, and I do feel like he preyed on her.
You got 5 kids and need help. You vulnerable.
No. She preyed on him.
Birthday, she preyed on him. I don't know.
Why keep the kid? Why keep the kid? You want to know why she keep the kid?
Because she broke and can't afford an abortion.
She get into the bag. Nah, she get into the bag.
Abortions cost money.
Yeah, I'm quite sure they do. Oh, 3 hours. Yeah.
So, okay. But, I have given my final thoughts and reflections. You guys continue to share your insight, saying if you have an answer for the type of guy who is a part of the MGTOW movement, but completely divested from women, including sex and sexual urges for women, If you think that maybe that means we have another sexual orientation altogether, then let me know. If you think that, nah, it's just he's broken or traumatized, he just needs his own bout of therapy, let me know you think that way. More importantly, for the people who shared their very intimate stories with me, and we talked about those issues here on this channel, please do not take those issues and go into a bout of depression and decide to isolate. Understand that you can reach out to people for help as needed. The crisis line's phone number is below, going through on the ticker. Access your resources, be an advocate for your mental wellness and your emotional stability. And keep yourself together. Sometimes we make mistakes, and sometimes it's not missteps or mistakes at all. Sometimes we have to be a part of experiences in order for us to learn and come out on top and be the best versions of ourselves that we are meant to be and to reach our capacity. But yeah, just try to completely divest from having sex with pastors. And, if you're a woman who is broken and know they need healing, try to do therapy instead of doing married men. And I'm not saying that you put yourself in that predicament, but sometimes we make ourselves vulnerable to creeps who are preying on us. And I do hope that you acquire better outcomes and better results in the future. It's going to be a rough one. But keep in mind, all of the insight that was shared on this channel tonight, and the advisements of myself and the guests. Big shout out to the chat. You guys were extremely engaging and very helpful, I'm sure, for these particular scenarios. I want to thank Rush for coming on here. And as he always say, you guys remain sucker free. Rush, any final insights?
Yeah, man. Salute to you and the producer. This was definitely a good conversation to have. Just definitely needed. You know what I mean? And hopefully, I explained to you the thoughts of a man that's choosing a lifestyle of big time. You know what I mean? And for you cats out there, man, seek wisdom, practice humility, and remain sucker free. All
right, Rush.
Good. I just can't. I'm glad that I got a chance to see the toxic masculinity in the show's producer.
There we go. Salute to you for keeping a buck, man. Respect. You know what I mean?
Not that level of toxic masculinity and victim shaming on this show of accountability is just unacceptable. I just can't. I'm just so shocked, you guys. I'm appalled. All of that good stuff.
Not just I'm appalled.
It's just, ew, start to look away. But, go out there and be the best version of yourself that you can be and put some positive energy into the atmosphere around you guys. Spread positive light and empowerment. And please, if you cannot find it within yourself to spread positive light, positive energy towards someone, don't go out there infringing on their neutral space or their positive space with your negative energy. That is all that I got, you guys. I'll be seeing you guys later. Bye.
Who alive can't put me in a box. I redefine any definition you got. I am the tiger, I'm making steps to the top. The flames, I whip it up, you just gotta hand me the rock. Take a seat, you cannot stand it. All I know, the flow harder than a Scotch bunny. Don't try studying me, you cannot manage. This ain't what you want, bitch, I'm a fucking phenomenon. This ain't what you want, bitch, I'm a fucking phenomenon.